Welcome. No, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. You're stuck with me, Brandon Snide, and the MVP of the show, my guy, Charlie Usen. Charlie, good afternoon. It helps if I get your mic on.
Yeah, maybe some.
User error.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, Sparky's still stranded wherever he is with car trouble, so that's going on. Hopefully he can be saved one of these days.
Listen, we got a lot to get to on Wisconsin Sports Daily. We will break down the NFC North jerseys here. We'll talk about it coming up shortly. We'll be talking about the Brewers, talking about maybe how important 100 wins are, Brandon Woodruff update, the Green Bay Packers getting set for joint practice. We'll do the green and gold update at the 4 o'clock hour. But Charlie, fill me in on what is going on with Sparky, because I got a call last night. I don't remember what time it was, later in the evening, and said he was still stranded. So this is Wisconsin Sports Daily, of course, in the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by our friends over at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. However, Sparky has supposed to have been at work the last 2 days, correct?
Yes, he was supposed to be here.
And he is stranded.
He is stranded, yes. Sparky has continuous car problems. Like, this has been the 2.5 years I've worked with Sparky so far. He has not once had a nice car moment for like an entire month. It's always something's happening. This is another one of those moments for Sparky. This time it just so happened that he was out at a baseball tournament for his kid. And then, of course, it has to break down out there. So then it's hard for him to get back here. It can't just break down here when he comes back. That would have been so much better, so much easier. But no, he should be back hopefully tomorrow. I think that's the goal. That's the plan right now. But he's trying his hardest.
There could be there might be a chance where it's me and you again all week, which I'd be fine with, because I love teaming up with you. I think you're fantastic work with. So
working with you too.
We got lots to break down. Obviously, the Brewers back out in the swing of things. They're out in New York to kick off a 3-game series against the Mets. And off day on Monday. These Monday off days for the Brewers just still get me all confused on which game it is. So the game one is tonight. Aaron Morse will have the leadoff show beginning at 5. And, of course, Tim Allen will have the Potawatomi Sports post-game show after the final out in this one. I did want to talk about this, Charlie, if we may, to begin the show. The NFC North rivalry jerseys have been released. I'm sure by this point, most Packer fans have gotten their eyes on these jerseys. If you have, or maybe if you haven't, go and check them out. But if you have, do you like them? 414-677-1250, Nicolay Fan Talk and text line. Are you a fan of the rivalry jerseys for the Green Bay Packers? Now, they're not the only ones to get those, right? The whole NFC North, we're going to dive into the Bears, the Vikings, the Lions, the AFC South as well, had theirs unveiled. It's something the NFL, this is the second year of it. They started it last year. They're going 2 divisions each year until they wrap things up, and then I'm sure we'll get more of them. If you kind of look at where Nike is with the NBA, that's sort of where I think the NFL is probably going to go. You're going to have a new jersey every handful of years. The Brewers just got a new jersey.
MLB too, yeah. Exactly.
Good point. Yeah, Brewers just got theirs. What was that this year with the Wisco, and not a big fan of those.
Were the Brew Crew ones like rivalry or City Connect jerseys too?
Yep. So that was, I think they're doing it every 3. Josh Albrecht would be the one to answer that, but I believe it's every 3. But join the show wide open. No guest on the Wisconsin Sports Daily Show today. 414-677-1250. Let your voice be heard. We'll take your calls. We'll take your texts. Charlie, I want to dive into your thoughts. The NFC North, obviously, I think by now most people know you're a Chicago Bears fan. So Bears got theirs unveiled as well, obviously them being in the NFC North. Let's start, though, with the Green Bay Packers. When you first saw that uniform be unveiled, Charlie, for the Green Bay Packers, and if you're over on YouTube, you can check out our stream on YouTube. Please make sure you are subscribed. We are free and available. You can see all of the uniforms for the NFC North currently on our live stream. They have the Packers in the bottom left-hand corner if you're watching on YouTube, and then obviously you can kind of figure out the rest from there. Charlie, when you first saw Green Bay unveil their 2026 rivalry jerseys, your first reaction was what?
All right. It was better than the concept jerseys I had been seeing. There was the brown ones that somebody had put out there that literally looked like diarrhea. Like, I thought those were the grossest looking jerseys on the face.
I know
of
which
the
ones
earth.
you're talking about.
I think our friend Tommy Wirtz had posted about them, and then I quote tweeted that and said, "You better not wear those against the Bears and lose, because if you lose, it's going to be called the poop jerseys the entire time, and that's not going to be a good thing for this Packers team." So they're better than that. At the same time, I don't really love them that much. I think the font that they used on the numbers is a little strange, especially for some of the different numbers. At the same time, when it compares to the Bears jerseys, I absolutely hate those uniforms that they released. I thought that was just kind of a weird combo that they're working with. Orange pants, I think, is the worst possible thing you could have ever done on a uniform moving forward. They look like the University of Illinois, so it doesn't really look like it's anything special or brand new. And then like Detroit's are awful. That's literally just a Panthers jersey with the Lions written or Detroit written on it instead.
Yeah, it is.
But the Packers, I think overall in the NFC North, I really not that I love them, but above the Bears and above the Lions, I would give them that. The Vikings, I think, are by far the best ones in the division. I think the Vikings might be the best one out of the 8 that were released because the AFC South had their 4 released too.
At first when I saw the leaks, I said, man, that looks like the Baylor Bears, right? In the college football, like that green sort of embodies what Baylor is. But then, Charlie, the whole uniform started to kind of get rolled out. And then when I saw the jerseys, I said, okay, let me see what the helmet is going to look like, because that's going to tie everything in. I was hoping it wasn't going to match the jersey. I was hoping it was going to be something else. I was hoping the pants were going to be a different color and it wasn't going to be like a full green uniform for the Green Bay Packers. And they will wear these twice a year, obviously, against the Green Bay, or they are the Packers. They'll wear them against the Bears at Lambeau Field and at Soldier Field, where the Bears will also be wearing their jerseys. And you can see what those look like on our YouTube live stream as well. They are placed right above the Green Bay Packers. Honestly, it looks like Baylor versus Illinois coming up between these two teams.
Like North Dakota State. That's what I got the most out of
That's a good one too. I will say this though. The helmet for me, Charlie, was the game changer. The helmet for the Packers was the game changer for me. I said I was hoping it wasn't going to be green. The white helmet though, with the yellow stripe, did it for me. Like the Packers could sell me anything and I would probably buy it, to be honest with you. But I thought the yellow or the white helmet with the yellow stripe really started to help pop these jerseys, and then the white pants as well. So, and then the yellow nameplate on the back of these jerseys, I think is pretty cool as well. It sort of brings out that yellow stripe. They have yellow stripe in the pants as well. But you mentioned sort of the color of the white and the meaning. The Packers released this statement on their website, according to Packers.com. The uniform features a desaturated vintage green jersey with delicate alabaster and gold stripes paired with alabaster pants and a matching matte helmet with green and gold striping and a matte green face mask. The alabaster palette is reminiscent of the aged paper of historic Packers stock certificates, while the jersey numbers feature an engraved treatment modeled after the intricate lettering of paper currency, reflecting the financial support that has helped sustain the franchise. So there's meaning behind. I know Josh Albrecht is on social media. You know, Josh had a reaction to what these uniforms were or were not going to be. He had a reaction to them and didn't like the font. So it kind of explains to you what the font, what it means, what the coloring is for. Does that, when I read that statement from the Green Bay Packers, Charlie, does that change your opinion on it at all?
Kind of. I also feel like this just is going to be a slippery slope when you talk about them releasing jerseys over and over again.
It is.
Is that when, like, it's fine the first one. I think I get the meaning. But then, like, what are you going to do next? When the next one comes out, you're just going to do the same thing and make up any kind of meaning possible to make it matter. That's what they did with the Wisco jerseys. That's why they spread it to the whole state, because they're like, damn, we used it all on the Burger ones. What do we do now moving forward? It just feels like that, again, this is just leading towards more of that commercialism of these jerseys. And as much as I like the idea of creating new jerseys and having meaning, it just also feels like you look at some of the other teams that release these same kind of jerseys, and you can already see that some of those just don't mean as much to those cities, don't mean as much to the history of those teams. Like the Jaguars ones that they released, they had like the Jaguar pants, and I think they just looked dumb. Like, and then they tried to make some kind of history, make it the bold city was the whole like theme of their jersey. And that just like already doesn't really make sense to me. I'm not from Jacksonville. I don't know if that's a thing that they get called, but I've never heard that before. And I think I've heard nicknames of other cities enough to say, oh, okay, I can recognize that. I don't recognize that. And this Packers one, they're starting off fine. The meeting makes it okay, but it also feels very superficial already, even though it does, all right, justify some of the decisions they made.
414-677-1250, the Nicolay Fan Talk and Text line. Are you a fan of the Packer rivalry jerseys here in 2026? They'll wear them against the Bears at Lambeau Field week 5, and they'll wear them against the Bears at Soldier Field. It's Christmas Day, whatever week that is. I'm so confused now with the NFL expanding their season, whatever week it is. It is Christmas Day that they'll be wearing those at Soldier Field. So 414-677-1250. Who, in your opinion, has the best one in the NFC North? This one, Charlie, from the 920. These jerseys are awful, terrible, and honestly, whoever had the idea for them should be fired. Just terrible. I am under the belief, Charlie, that no matter what the Packers do, whatever any team necessarily does, you will never win over a fan base with these jerseys or a new color scheme or anything new. Anything new is always going to rub a certain portion of the fan base wrong. And we have an active poll right now over on YouTube on who has the best jerseys throughout the NFC North.
You type 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's how you vote in the chat.
That's a really cool feature, by the way. Shout out to StreamYard for implementing that. But who, in your opinion, has the best one throughout the NFC North? Now, Charlie, you sort of mentioned a little bit of the Bears. Let's go through each one of these teams, if you don't mind. We have the Bears. You mentioned it a little bit. Now, they are, I hate saying it, but right now they are atop the NFC North. They won the division last year. Immediately when I look at the Bears uniforms, Charlie, I think of Syracuse or Illinois University.
Illinois was the first thing that popped into my head. Again, that just doesn't feel creative enough to me. That just feels like, again, you're doing bare minimum, I think, with some of this stuff. And again, it just feels lazy. Everybody was talking about with the Bears, they wanted the polar bear uniforms because that feels different. You go all white, you have like the silver kind of lettering.
Yep.
And yes, it may be a little bit more plain than what you're giving us here. It may not have the same historic meaning because the Bears are such a historic franchise along with the Packers that you want to have that when you talk about these rivalry jerseys. I'm sure they kind of worked in tandem. That's why both of them are the same kind of style, the same kind of throwback type of look or historic type of look. And that's part of the reason that both of them went the direction they did. But also, you don't have to go the same exact direction. And I think you probably would have done a better job of selling jerseys in the future. And I'm sure they're going to do a great job of selling these jerseys anyways. But if you have something that maybe is more long lasting, more timeless, I think matters more to the culture of the team now that you can drag on as the team continues to be successful. I think about like the Miami Heat, the Vice jerseys that they did at first, those first set of them. I think that did that for that team. It was with the city, but it was new and it was vibrant and it was different than what they've ever really done in the past. And I think these other teams are playing it almost too safe to where they're just boring and they just look weird and they look like something else that's already been done before.
Yeah, and the Bears have done the orange thing before. You and I were talking about, and it wasn't very...
I like the jerseys. I just like the helmets and the pants are too much, and they just don't look right. Like, the pants just look weird. The jerseys, I'd rather have the orange jerseys with blue pants if you're going to do something like that, or do something different, like you said, because they've done it before already.
Right. It's been part of their rotation before the Green Bay Packers. What I like about the Packers, and we'll get back to your thoughts, your reactions on the Packers rivalry jersey. What I like about the Packers ones are we've never seen this before. Like, this is a little bit different for us, at least. The white helmets, they did the white out a couple of years ago. I think, what was that? Actually, they did it week 2 of last year, the white out jerseys, which were a huge hit amongst Packer fans. So a lot of us were hoping that the Packers would eventually incorporate another white helmet. I really like it. And again, the meaning behind the uniform is really cool. Charlie, let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. And you and I, before the show, a little peek behind the curtain for those that are unfamiliar with the radio business. We talked before the show, which is not always the case for some shows. So you and I had a conversation before the show, and you were pretty high on the Minnesota Vikings and their rivalry jerseys. They are mostly purple. If this photo here I'm looking at, is that a gold accent, Charlie,
Yes.
on the face mask, helmet, and the sleeves?
Yes, on the sleeves and around the numbers too. They have that same kind of gold lining, lettering around it. Yeah, I really like these. I guess like to the same degree as the other ones, it doesn't feel too different from something that the Vikings have done in the past. It feels like it's something that they've tried before potentially, but it just feels right. It feels better than like the Packers and the Bears. And maybe that's because the Vikings just don't have the same kind of historic story behind them, that where when you look at new jerseys for those other teams, it just feels weird that they're wearing them. I love the gold. I think it looks great on these jerseys. You had mentioned that they kind of remind you of the Ravens jerseys. And I can see that.
I can't get my head off of it. I think they're cool. I think you're onto something, thinking they should. You and I are we're gonna rank our 4 at the end of this here.
And I like what I really like about the Vikings one, and what I don't really like about the Packers. You had said you like the helmets, the yellow stripe. Yeah. I don't like the design in the yellow stripe. I think that throws me off. It's got like
for the Packers.
It's got like a webbing almost in that yellow. I don't really know how to explain it. With the Vikings, they got the Nordic type of cross braid going down the middle, and I think that looks really cool on their helmets, along with like the gold piping that we were talking about. I love the gold. I love the way the braid goes down the middle. I wish the Packers used more of a gold like that almost, and that was the gold that they were working with.
Yeah, and to your point with the gold there at the end, if you look at the Packers on their left shoulder, they have the old school G and B. You think like I don't think that matches the stripe for that's in there, so it's a little bit of an off. So maybe you're onto something a little bit there. But with the Vikings one, I look at it. I don't think it's bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's bad. But it does scream Ravens to me. Like it does look like,
and maybe I just like the Ravens jerseys.
It could be, and those are cool colors. Purple, black, white. Like you can't go wrong. All right, Charlie, let's move on to the Detroit Lions and your first reaction when you saw the Lions 2026 rivalry jersey unveiled was also what?
I didn't know the Panthers were getting another new jersey. It's like, it's fine. I get it. It kind of looks like a race car, like the Ford type of look to it. That's lame. The Pistons have done that. That's literally what the Pistons are based off of the cars. And they've done these cool kind of racing style jerseys before. It just doesn't feel new. And then again, it's the Panthers like straight up. Like this just looks like if the Lions and Panthers decided to join teams and this is what they decided to work with. Like it just doesn't look that fun. It doesn't look that original. It's not cool. It's not different. Like it's just boring. Like these are by far, in my opinion, the worst just because they aren't changing anything.
The helmet doesn't match the jersey, man. When you look at the helmet, like it just doesn't feel like it's too much. It's too dominant from the jersey.
Right.
Like it doesn't complement
like make the jersey that color.
Correct.
I think that would have been better.
Correct. That's where I'm going with it as well, because it looks like it's a different helmet and it's not matching the jersey. And the black stripes on the shoulder pads. Again, we're showing the photos on our live YouTube stream. Please make sure you subscribe to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network YouTube channel and get all of the shows. The black stripe, Charlie, on the Detroit jersey, it screams Panther jerseys to me, because the Panthers jerseys have that same mark, and then obviously the Panther on the sleeve. But this one, it's very similar, to your point, very, very similar to the Carolina Panthers uniforms, and it just doesn't really matter. Like nothing really clicks in that one for me. So with that being said, let's rank these real quick before we move on to some conversation around the Milwaukee Brewers as they get set to kick off a series in New York. Let's rank these, Charlie. Number 4 for you in the NFC North rivalry jerseys are what?
Are the Lions.
I think we both agree there.
And again, I think they could have fixed it by making the jerseys that bright blue color and then changing the black to like a silver, like a chrome, almost like the nice fancy car. They were so close.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where Detroit has some good colors. Like I hate to give Detroit any sort of credit whatsoever, but they have some really good like team colors that they can incorporate, and it just feels like that one is very strange. But again, whatever. I think you and I both agree they're number 4. Let's go to number 3. I think we're gonna have the same 4 and 3, but I think we're gonna have a different 1 and 2. Number 3 for you is who?
The Chicago Bears. I hate the orange pants. I think it just looks weird. It looks like a ripoff of another team. It could be better. Again, the Bears just look weird in a different jersey.
Yeah, it screams Syracuse vibes. It screams Illinois vibes to me. Again, like I say this with a lot of respect to Chicago, and obviously the Green Bay Packers, they could have played, Charlie, a game in their normal uniforms, and that would have been good. Yes. And like that's the rivalry.
Like if you're gonna do something different, do something different. Like,
if you're
don't
gonna
make
do
it just look like a weird version of your normal.
Go back to like the 20s or something. Yeah. Like do something that's going to be okay. These are the 2 most historic franchises in all the NFL. I have the Minnesota Vikings, or excuse me, you're right. You and I are in the same path. I have Illinois, or excuse me, Chicago number 3 as well. And it was close between Detroit and the Chicago Bears for me. I'm looking at them and I want to say Illinois. So I'm going to stop looking at the photo. It was close for 3 and 4 to me, but the helmet for Detroit is just, it's hideous. And at least the Bears match their pants. So I put the Bears at number 3. All right, Charlie, number 2 for you.
Number 2 is the Green Bay Packers. They're all right. They're fine. Again, it just looks weird. I like other ones better.
Yeah, number 2 for me is the Minnesota Vikings. And it's only because I know it's going to come off as I'm wearing a Packer hoodie right now as being a homer. I don't hate Minnesota's, to your point. I think that's cool. I like the gold accent. You make a good point. The detail on it is a little bit sharper, I think, than everybody else's. But it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm like, it's kind of sort of, we've kind of seen that one before, and that resides in Baltimore. So number one for you is obviously
The Minnesota
the
Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings, and probably to the points that I alluded to. And I have the Packers at number one. I mean, the white helmet, we see for us Packer fans, Charlie, we don't like, they haven't changed the helmet a whole lot. When we get a helmet change, it's like breaking news for us.
Because usually the helmet chains lately have just been ugly as hell. So.
Yeah, like the one where they did the what was it, the 20s throwback where it was spray painted that looked like a leather helmet.
Sparky loved that. I didn't like it.
I didn't hate it. Then they had the 50s throwback, the 50s classic, which was pretty popular. A lot of cool merch. What I like about these, though, is there's meaning behind it. Now, I know there's some meaning behind all of these jerseys, right? Maybe besides the Lions, I suppose. But, like, you know, there's meaning behind the shade of green and the lettering and stuff like that. So I'm always glued to historic connection as well. So I have the Packers at number one, the Minnesota Vikings at number two. Let's get into some quick reaction here, Charlie, before we move on to the Milwaukee Brewers. This one you'll appreciate from the 920. As a fan, we are entitled to compensation for having to look at these jerseys. They are gross. However, TJ in Wausau in the 715 says these rivalry jerseys are fire. Need to order my Matthew Golden jersey right now. I think, and the other thing for the Packers fans that we don't really get to see a ton of, Charlie, is the lettering being different colors, right? A lot of it they did with the 20s throwback, but like it's usually white or green. So we haven't been able to see a ton of that. So I think that's pretty cool for the Packers. They have yellow. I think the 50s had yellow as well, and they ended up being pretty popular. This also from the 920. Unless the Packers are getting compensation for wearing those jerseys or it's for a charity, then why? They look horrible. Guys, the Packers have no control over this. Like, this is an NFL thing.
Sometimes they look better on the field. Give it a chance.
And we'll
see what they look like.
We'll see. We'll see what you may tune on your TV in week 5 and on Christmas between the Packers and the Bears and thinking you're watching a college football game, but it is not Baylor versus Illinois. It will be the Packers versus the Chicago Bears. One more here for you, Charlie. The Packers have the most iconic uniform in the history of professional sports. They only wear it 17 times a year, and to alter it is blasphemy.
It's not that big of a deal.
I will also preface with this, Charlie, as we wrap things up. The Packers don't really have a whole lot of control over these things. Like, the NFL is going to come in. They're partnered with Nike. They're going to want to make money. That's what they do.
And the Packers were just crying broke a couple months ago. I mean, to get a new jersey and get more sales that way, I'm sure they appreciate getting a little more money in the door. Why not?
And it's one of those things. I think we got a couple comments here, Charlie, if you want to read some off in the YouTube dugout chat. Like, this is one of those things too, Charlie, and I firmly believe this. No matter what the Packers do, they could have the coolest looking uniform anybody's ever seen, and there will be a portion of the fan base that just hates it because they don't like change, and that's fine. I respect that. And like Josh says, I'm not telling anybody how to fan, but no matter what they do, fans will always find something to complain about. What do we got over on YouTube?
Our good friend Anton over there on at WI Sports Radio on YouTube says those jerseys truly remind me of free giveaways for the first 25,000 fans. Ugly. And then when we were talking about the Lions jerseys, he said, or knockoffs from China.
Yeah, they're just weird, man. The Lions ones, I agree. We're both have them at number 4. They're strange,
and I don't lazy. Like, they just don't feel
right.
Good.
They just seem very strange. All right, we'll move on from uniform talk as we wrap things up on the NFC North. Rivalry jerseys unveiled today. We'll move things on to a much more happy topic: the Milwaukee Brewers. That's right, first place in the NL Central. And the question for you guys is rather simple. Who has been the most surprising Brewer to you this season? That can be a good answer, or that can be maybe a not so good answer. We'll talk about that. And how important is winning 100 games for the Milwaukee Brewers? We'll discuss that coming up next on Wisconsin Sports Daily here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. You know, it isn't all about just betting at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, Charlie. There's a big food menu filled with a bunch of new items. All-day brunch with steak and eggs, a steak and bagel sandwich, pancakes, and so much more. They got things like chicken wings, sign me up, and wings and tenders, build your own burger. Coon dogs are there. Desserts highlighted by the MVP Turtle Sundae. Tons of cold beverages to go along with that all-star meal. Must be 21 to enter the casino. Bet above the rest. And our thanks to the Potawatomi Sportsbook sponsoring and powering Wisconsin Sports Daily here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. No Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. We are still in search of him. He is stranded somewhere. APB has been released, and we don't know yet where Sparky is. We don't know when he'll be back. He might be back tomorrow.
Might be.
It just might be the Charlie and Brandon show, and that's what we'll call it from now on.
He's probably just on foot right now, typing emails away on his phone as he makes his way back here.
I envision Sparky, and I love Sparky for those. Angry, like when he's typing, he's angry. Like he's hitting the buttons really hard. He's hitting his phone really hard.
Yeah, but if he's angry, he just calls you. That's fair. If he's just, I think he's actually a nicer texter when he's just texting. But if he has something he needs to get off his chest right away, he gives you a ring. And
that's fair. Speaking of the Brandon and Charlie show, of course, here on the Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook in the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. This text from Tommy and Dallas, and we'll get to the Brewers conversation here shortly, I promise. Tommy and Dallas. From the 4-4 says, my two favorite producers coming together to make a new favorite show. Brandon, John was so agreeable today, non-combative and almost nice. He's just mean to you. That is interesting, Charlie. I did not listen to 9 to Noon, full disclosure. There has been, you know, some of the nooners will text in and they're like, John is just mean to Brandon. And he likes that because he knows I can take it and I'll also fight back with him. So I'm curious if John is different when I'm not.
Do you think it's because Rami can't take it? You think this is really?
No, I think Rami's got thick skin. Like he's a comedian.
Yeah, that's
so true. Like he can definitely take it.
If he's gonna dish it, he's gotta take
it. Yeah, like I have no fear that Rami can't take something. But it is interesting because John always goes against my side, and I always tell him, like, you know, I cheer for you. Mm-hmm. I rooted for you. I cried with you. Like I was upset when
So he has to agree with you?
But not necessarily have to agree with me, but like he disagrees on almost everything.
Almost everything.
Which he'll probably disagree to the topic we have here in regards to our Milwaukee Brewers, and a fantastic question posed by Charlie Usen, who has been the most surprising Milwaukee Brewer to you this season. Of course, the Brewers are in first place in the National League Central Division. It has been not what we saw last year, right? We saw a lot. We saw an 8-game win streak, an 11-game win streak. At this point, they had a 14-game win streak. It's been more consistent play for the Milwaukee Brewers this season at 81-50. They entered the day with a 5.5-game lead over the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs winning in last night's ball game over the Arizona Diamondbacks to kick off their series on the road. So, Charlie, I'll turn the question back over to you. I'll be quite honest with you. This can go in many different ways, I feel, for Brewers fans. And this can be a good answer. It can be maybe a not so good answer. And your opinions, your thoughts, your reactions are always welcomed on Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Nicolay Fan Talk and text line 414-677-1250. I ask listeners, and I ask you, Charlie, who has been the most surprising Brewer to you so far this season?
Yeah, it's going to be probably a positive name, I think, for most people. I understand that a lot of people are frustrated with Christian Yelich, but last year was more so an outlier season over the course of his past 5 years. And yes, it was really exciting to watch him play at almost peak MVP level, it felt like, last season for a majority of the year until he got injured. I think that was something that got people so excited for this year. Outside of him, I think for the most part, the most surprising players have all been guys having breakout style seasons. Jake Bauers, I think, is probably the most common answer, or will be the most common answer for a lot of people. And I would say, yeah, probably he's had his career high in home runs. Mm-hmm. He's getting on base at a crazy high percentage compared to the rest of his career. His OPS has been phenomenal throughout the entire season. I thought maybe after 1 to 2 months, he'd start to slow down a little bit, and he just hasn't really. He's been extremely consistent, along with the way that the Brewers have just played overall this season. He's been the engine and been what the Brewers have shown throughout the year has been through Jake Bauers. And I think you can see that he's a great example. But the guy that I think is the most surprising to me, and I know he's slowed down since the All-Star break a little bit, Aaron Ashby should have been an All-Star. Aaron Ashby has been phenomenal for this team. He's been just as much as Jake Bauers has been the engine of the offense. Aaron Ashby has been the engine for this bullpen. And I think throughout multiple injuries, through other guys having down periods as well, and much worse down periods than Aaron Ashby has had so far throughout this season, he's been the constant. He's that guy who's going to keep Jacob Misiorowski from being a Triple Crown winner, it feels like, because he consistently just comes in those winning moments, and that's maybe a little bit frustrating. But I think Aaron Ashby, again, has been a leader for a really young pitching staff just overall, and that's much needed for a guy that has been that young guy in this Brewer system before and trying to find his role. He has that experience for a lot of these other young guys to kind of go in with a little bit of a different confidence than you would see from other teams.
I don't know if you've listened to 9 to Noon before, Charlie. I'm not a fan of Aaron Ashby.
Of course. Of course.
I'm not okay. It's not that I'm not a fan of his, right? I'm obviously going to root for him. If he does good, I'm cheering. I'm not going to turn my back on him. I just don't trust him. Right. I just don't like his whip for the position. And it's probably not even his fault, because I don't think he should be put in those high leverage spots. And he is. And I get it. Too many walks for Aaron Ashby. For me, that's yes, it has been sort of a surprise in the fact that he comes in, the quote unquote vulture of the team and picks off those wins, and, has obviously he's had some really big moments. There's no question about it. He had a big moment, I believe, early on in that series in Atlanta. I think that was on Saturday, and was able to kind of work off of 2 hits. I think he actually got the save that day because Trevor McGill was down, but nonetheless, I'm not there yet with Aaron Ashby. It's one of those things where I think he has the most electric stuff. And people always ask me, like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, his movement, his vert on his stuff is insane. Like, it should not move sometimes the way that it moves. And also,
save on Saturday, by the way.
He did. Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was Saturday or if it was Friday, but I know Jacob Misiorowski or Trevor McGill, I think, closed it on Friday. But nonetheless, it's the most electric stuff. And I think that's also what comes back to bite him sometimes, Charlie's, because like he doesn't always know where it's going to go. And so he's not on my list as a surprise. I'm going to keep it in the positives as well. And I know this is only sort of half the year. I mean, really not even 2 months yet. We're getting close to 2 months. And we're taking your candidates for who is the most surprising Brewer to you this season. Drop your thoughts on the Nicolay Fan Talk and text line 414-677-1250. But like July 4th on, how do you not have Joey Ortiz? Now, before that, yes, he was not great. And Cooper Pratt, we knew, was on his way when they signed that extension. Joey Ortiz knew his days were numbered. And obviously it was something that was always there. And maybe he was pressing a little bit at the shortstop position. And up until they called Cooper Pratt, and calling up Cooper Pratt, Charlie, was probably the best thing to ever happen to Joey Ortiz in the major leagues. I'm not even kidding you. Like, his numbers since July 4th,
absolutely insane.
He's not only been one of the best hitters on the Brewers. Like, I agree with you. Jake Bauers is the offensive MVP. I think most people will agree. Okay, that dude has far exceeded the most home runs he's hit in a season already. There's no question. Like,
especially with Turang and Contreras having
ups and down,
some hard seasons.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no question. I think most Brewer fans will get on that with Jake Bauers. But like, outside of that, Joey Ortiz in the second half of the season, not only, Charlie, has he been one of the best hitters? Obviously, Jake Bauers is in that conversation. Jackson Troyos had a good, couple of weeks here. But like, Joey Ortiz is one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball since July 4th. Now, it is a smaller sample size, right? Obviously, you're comparing the season starting in March to where we are now, and I'm comparing it, sort of at the beginning of July to where we are now in August. But man, Joey Ortiz has been, for me, it's been a pleasant surprise. It was something I never really thought that would come to fruition. I never thought this sort of offensive output from Joey Ortiz was something we were going to see consistently. Now, it is a small sample size, Charlie, but we're nearing 2 months. Like, it's becoming a larger sample size as we go on. And I understand now it's not necessarily, he's not an everyday player, per se.
It's kind of frustrating now that he's starting to play well.
But it's almost like you want to see him. And you tell somebody
every day in the first half, man. Like, what are we doing?
Charlie, you tell somebody that in like June.
Exactly.
You're like, people think you're from a different planet.
Have you been watching the Brewers? Do you even know this team? Yeah. All of that would have been thrown at you. Yeah, like Joey Ortiz, I guess. I just think the first half of the season takes it away from me a little bit. And I guess you could say the exact same thing for the counter argument to Aaron Ashby, that the first half of the season was awesome. The second half of the year has been shaky. It's been up and down for him. So you could throw that right back at me. But I also feel like Joey Ortiz, the fact that you had to find other people to replace him and that you had to find other ways to work around his play, and then that all of a sudden got him going. Yes, that was surprising in the scheme of the season, but I think with Joey Ortiz overall, I'm still not feeling like that's a long-term option. And I think when I think about the surprising types of guys, I think that's usually where I'm leaning towards. I want it to be a breakout more than or a complete fall off where like you have to start thinking about the future of that player. And with Joey Ortiz, this half a season, this 1.5 months that we've seen him play at this level, it doesn't make me change my opinion about the future of Joey Ortiz a little bit. With Christian Yelich, what we're seeing this season, with Brandon Woodruff and the injuries that he's suffered so far this season, I think that changes my thought about the future of their standing with the team. I think Aaron Ashby, the way he's pitched so far this season, he was a guy that I think a lot of people felt like they could have moved on from. And now I kind of feel like he's going to be a long-term option of this bullpen for sure moving forward, and that he's going to be huge for this team. So it changed my opinion of the future of him on this team. Joey Ortiz, I'm in the same boat that I was to begin the season. Yes, he's playing really well, but he's not going to be a part of this team moving forward.
Can I throw a name at you?
Sure.
And we'll get to a couple of texts here in regards to who is the most surprising Brewer to you so far this season. 414-677-1250. We'll read your texts. We'll take your calls here on the Wisconsin Sports Daily inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Charlie, would it be crazy for me to sit here and say, of course, on August 25th, if you would have told me that on March, when did the season start? The 28th, 26th? If you told me March 15th, for example, before the season started, that Jacob Misiorowski would have been the Cy Young winner, because I think right now that he's going to win.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have believed that, because we saw some ups and downs last year from Jacob Misiorowski. Could Jacob Misiorowski, Charlie, be thrown into this conversation as being, I mean, obviously a pleasant surprise, but we saw some command issues last year. We saw some emotion issues, right? He got a little high, got a little low. Pat Murphy said they got to find the middle ground there. Man, this is his first full season in Major League Baseball, and he's going to win the top honors for the National League Cy Young Award winning at the end of the year. I would assume he's going to edge out Chris Sale. Could Jacob Misiorowski be considered for that for you as well, Charlie? I mean,
I think so. I don't know if on his own he 100% is considered that for me. Like, I think the young starting pitchers, the young pitchers in general as a group, I think are the most surprising. Jacob Misiorowski, you could see he had that talent last season. And if he could just put it together, if he could just continue to grow and learn at the rate that he was learning at throughout his minor league career, I think you could foresee that coming, even in maybe not a Cy Young year, but I saw this type of, for sure, all-star again year type of season from Jacob Misiorowski. I also think that, like Phil from Raised Grain, my friend over there, shout out Phil, shout out Bob over there, he says, most surprising for me is Logan Henderson. He's been such an amazing lockdown third man in the rotation, was not expecting the level he's been at consistently. Kyle Harrison has been an extreme surprise so far this season. I don't think he was going to be that stud. Shane Drowan, I think, was a player that a lot of people felt like was going to end up probably being the stud of that trade, but didn't know that for sure. He was definitely the second piece of that trade when they made that trade. So that just felt weird, but it also felt like something the Brewers have done before. I think all of those guys outside of a Brandon Sproat, DL Hall has had a really great breakout season too as a reliever for this team. Outside of Brandon Sproat, all the 5 other guys I just named have been phenomenal for this Brewers team, and I don't think you could have expected that out of any of them besides Jacob Misiorowski. Maybe.
Couple more texts here as we take your reaction to who has been the most surprising Brewer for you so far this season. This is from the 920. This is sort of how I feel, and I promise, Charlie, this is not me texting into the show. Says, I'm sorry, but Ashby is and has been garbage, not trustworthy. This from the 503. Can we agree that playing David Hamilton for anything other than base running or pinch hitting bunting is manager malpractice? I think David Hamilton gets a lot of hate from Brewers fans. I see it on my Locked On Brewers podcast as well. I think David Hamilton's he was a kind of a throw-in as well.
He's fine.
He had a heck of a play on Sunday in that Little League World Series Classic.
He's just fine. Like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't.
But he's what you need, though. You need a guy like David Hamilton on a championship type team. You need a guy that, to that texter's point from the 503, can come in as a pinch runner in the 8th inning and score on a gapper, from first base and be the game winning run or the go ahead run in a late game situation. So you need a guy like David Hamilton. I will say this, and we'll take some more reaction. We'll continue the conversation on the other side of the break. This whole team has been really surprising, because if you would have told me that William Contreras was going to have a down year, if you would have told me before the season started, Charlie, that Jackson Chourio, Andrew Vaughn, Christian Yelich would each miss 4 to 6 weeks with the bone fracture in Vaughn's hand and in Churio's hand, and a adductor strain for Christian Yelich.
If you had told me Garrett Mitchell was going to play an entire season up to this point,
That
man,
could also be in
that's
the
pretty
conversation
surprising.
for the surprise. Knock on wood, Charlie. We'll take some of your guys' reaction into who is the most surprising Brewer, and I want to turn the conversation to another portion of this Milwaukee Brewers team. If Pat Murphy wins a third straight Manager of the Year award, is he on the Milwaukee Brewers Mount Rushmore? We'll take your thoughts, your calls, your texts, your reactions. Coming up next, this is the Wisconsin Sports Daily Live. That was my best Sparky
That was pretty good.
Was that
Yeah,
pretty
I liked
good?
it,
All right.
yeah.
On the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back into the Wisconsin Sports Daily. Charlie Usen, Brandon Snide here with you on a Tuesday afternoon, asking you the question, who has been the most surprising Brewer to you this season? This one, Charlie, from the 414, Chad Patrick turning into a lockdown reliever is my biggest surprise. He's been huge in getting us out of bases loaded situations. From the 262, I would say Christian Yelich. I never imagined he would be this bad. That's Ziggy in the 262. I kind of expected this sort of like my expectations for Yelich were not very high.
1 year out of the past 5 that he had a successful season without getting hurt or without just having a non-power year. Like, it felt like an outlier. As excited as I was, as everybody was, it just wasn't going to work out for him. Chad Patrick, throw him in that group of all the young pitchers I was talking about. At the same time, Chad Patrick, like, how I feel about him is how you feel about Aaron Ashby. Like, I just don't trust him all that much. I don't feel like he's like that great of a pitcher. Like,
me and Josh got into a heated argument one day
about Chad Patrick.
Oh, on air. Yeah. I said I would take Chad Patrick. He said Aaron Ashby.
Yeah.
So then I go to Mexico and Chad Patrick had like 8 runs he surrendered and I didn't hear the end of it. But then halfway through the vacation, Aaron Ashby gave up.
Of course, that had to be while you were on vacation, just so you couldn't fight back at all.
We have 3:00 coming up. We're going to talk about the Crew. Maybe part of the biggest surprise, Charlie, real quick as we wrap things up, only got a minute or so here. Maybe the biggest surprise is Brandon Woodruff not needing surgery. Do you put him on the playoff roster, Charlie, if in say 6 weeks he's good to go?
Yes, because he, like, even when he was down on velocity, he was still good. Like, he was still striking guys out. He was getting guys out. I think as much as, maybe you're stealing a roster spot from somebody else who in the minor leagues maybe deserved that played well this season, I think he's just got that veteran leadership that this team is going to need. I also feel like if he's going to be on this playoff roster, if he's choosing to go past surgery, probably tells me this might be one of the last years of his career.
I think it is.
He's just going to do surgery in the offseason and call it quits. Like, if he wants one more last ride, this is what that feels like, that's going to be the goal for him.
He is Charlie Usen, Brandon Snide here with you. 3:00 coming up here, just a few minutes. We're going to talk about the Crew. How important is a 100-win season to you? Do you want to see the Brewers get to 100 wins? And if Pat Murphy wins Manager of the Year, is he on the Mount Rushmore of the Milwaukee Brewers? We'll talk about that coming up next on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. It is time to talk about the Crew, brought to you by Brighton and Stratton. Looking for a college where you can excel in the classroom and on the field at Brighton and Stratton College, Wauwatosa campus. You can compete in NJCAA Division II athletics with more than 20 men's and women's teams to choose from. Visit BrightonStratton.edu and discover how Brighton and Stratton College is built different for you. It is time to talk about the Crew, and Charlie, we have a little bit of some sort of breaking news as we get things into the Brewers conversation. Sal Frelick back with the Milwaukee Brewers. This according to Kurt Hogue of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Sal Frelick has been activated off of the injured list. Can you take a guess, Charlie, off the top of your head, who was DFA'd?
Probably the one dude.
The one dude. That is the best way to describe this Brewers roster over the last 60 days or so.
Can't say I'm shocked.
You'd be correct. Jonathan Ornelas DFA'd in a corresponding mood. The question now is, and we are going to get into the conversation, a couple of topics for you guys. Number one, if Pat Murphy wins his third straight Manager of the Year award, is he on your Brewers Mount Rushmore? Get your thoughts in. Get your reaction on the Nicolay Fan Talking text line, 414-677-1250. We're also going to dive into later this hour, how important is a 100-win season for this Milwaukee Brewers team for you? Obviously, 97 last year. We know how the season ended a year ago. Do you want to see this team win 100 games? Is it very important to you? If it's not very important to you, what is important to you? If you want to see them win 100 games, is there a reason behind what you want to see them win 100 games? Or if they just win 98, now they have a new franchise record of wins. We'll get into that conversation. But I do want to talk quickly about this, Charlie, and how this move may or may not impact the Milwaukee Brewers before we dive into a couple of those other topics. They're going to have to find at bats for Sal Frelick, Garrett Mitchell, Luis Laura, and Jackson Chourio. That is a lot easier said than done.
Well, and Jackson Chourio gets at bats for sure. Like he's a young
locked.
Player on the contract.
Lock him in at left field.
So now you have an even bigger problem.
Correct.
Because now everybody else has to find at bats.
And Garrett Mitchell, he has certainly had some moments, right, where he's been really hot. July, he was really good. He cooled off a little bit. Man, he had a 4-hit game the other day against the Mariners. He had a big game, a big home run against the Mariners in game 3 of that series. So he's been swinging a good bat. You obviously know what you get defensively out of Garrett Mitchell. Luis Laura, maybe not the power numbers you want to see. I still love him at the plate. I know the numbers aren't there. We've talked to Tim Allen about this on 9 to Noon. I'm sure you guys have had the same conversation. Like the numbers are not there on paper for Luis Laura that we wanted to see and what we kind of sort of thought we were going to see from him coming from Nashville. But man, when that dude is he is a must see when he's on the defensive side of things out in right field or center field, always making a catch and sort of wowing the crowd and quite frankly everybody in the stadium. But they're going to have a tough. I'm assuming you're not going to activate Sal Frelick if you're not going to get him consistent at bats at the major league level. So I am curious to see how this looks like for the Milwaukee Brewers going forward. They do begin a 3-game series with the New York Mets. The lineup is out, Charlie. We do have
a little early for the lineup.
Luis Laura in right field. Let's see here. Jackson Chourio in left field and Garrett Mitchell in center. So no Sal Frelick to begin things with Kyle Harrison on the bump, but certainly you could potentially see a moment where Sal Frelick could find himself a late game defensive sub or certainly a pinch runner. But the Brewers do get Sal Frelick. It does sound like, knock on wood again, Abner Uribe, Jojo Romero, if you're out there in Appleton, must see that game tonight with those guys on the mound for the T-Rats on their rehab assignment. So the Brewers are getting right at the right time, which begs to ask the question. Right now they're 81-50. They're 19 wins away, from a 100-win season. How important is that to you? 414-677-1250. Charlie, we're going to get to the Pat Murphy conversation. I want to start with the 100 wins because you and I did not talk about this prior to the show. I proposed the topic to you, and I'm curious from your point of view, when you look at the history side of things. Last year, the Brewers broke the franchise record of regular season wins, 97, and it was such an insane year last year because it started off horrible. We thought they might be sellers in May, and then they go on an 8-game win streak, and then they rat off an 11-game win streak. Andrew Vaughn turns into Babe Ruth, and just the season just goes crazy. They have a 14-game win streak. Everybody gets free burgers. 97 wins, but it's not what everybody talks about in that season. Like you talk about that team last year, nobody really brings up 97 wins. you bring up, man, game 5 of the Cubs was insane. Like that series was crazy.
The Brewers ran out of steam against the Dodgers.
And then it's the Dodgers. Like they got swept. Like, and people, Charlie, called that season a failure. You and I took the calls. We saw the texts. Yep. We saw the reaction on social media. It was a failure. So I propose the question to you, Charlie, and listeners of the Wisconsin Sports Daily, also known as the Charlie Usen and Brandon Snide show for today only. How important is a 100-win season for Brewers fans, or how important should it be?
I don't think it's that important at all, if I'm being completely honest. And I would say it's probably not that important to the Brewers in the grand scheme of things either. I think right now what we've been doing over the past couple of months, or what we've been seeing from the Milwaukee Brewers over the past couple of months, is really just trying things out and trying to see where players can fit in if you do need them to fit in different positions. And I think that's something huge for this Milwaukee Brewers team to try and figure out early on into this. And now, for the first time in a long time, you have your roster, at least your batting lineup 100% healthy, your bats, your fielders, like you're 100% ready to go. And I look at the lineup today and I see that they're starting to make those types of changes within that lineup. Yes, Jake Bauers is not in this lineup, but you're seeing Gary Sanchez at DH a little more often now. And I think that's something you're going to have to start seeing if Christian Yelich isn't going to continue to pick it up. You have Andrew Vaughn at first base playing more often and almost every day now. This is something you really want to see. Joey Ortiz at third base, Cooper Pratt, shortstop, all these young players getting into this lineup. I think right now this Milwaukee Brewers team, as cool as 100 wins would be, it's not the biggest deal for them. Right now is to be able to make sure you have the squad, the right squad, and I think they do. I think I've said this with Sparky before. They have 4 different lineups for whatever situation you need. If you want a defensive lineup out there, I have a team that I think is confident they have that roster. You want a power lineup? You have guys out there that I think on the right night can hit 4 to 5 home runs as a lineup if you put the right guys out there. Speed, if you want contact, you have all of that with this Brewers team. So I think 100 wins, yes, it would be cool. I think it's possible for this Brewers team, but that's not the main goal. You have a roster, you have a lineup that I think is set for a postseason run this year, and that's what you have to have your focus on. If that doesn't go well this year, I think truly last season, while it wasn't a failure to me, this season might be if you fail in the playoffs again.
Yeah, and obviously the NL is tough, right? Like the Cubs aren't going anywhere. The Dodgers, we know, are going to be the Dodgers. They've been on a roll as of late, so the Dodgers are going to be the Dodgers. The Braves, the Brewers just beat 2 out of 3 times, twice at American Family Field. The one game they lost was obviously in Williamsport. So to me, again, you don't hang banners for winning 100 games in a season. And I know that's sort of cliche talk and whatnot, but to me, the most important thing is at this point as a Brewer fan, and again, I know this at times can sound a little bit selfish, and 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Brandon would never believe where the Brewers are right now having this conversation. I never would have thought that the Brewers would be in this situation where we're debating on if 100 wins is something that we value or not going into the postseason. This from the 920. 100 wins would be great, but the only reason it would mean something is if the Cubs win 99 games. The only thing that matters is if they are healthy and playing good baseball at the end of September. And that's kind of what I'm, kind of where I'm at. Like you want, listen, they won 97 games last year. We were all going crazy at the time. They beat the Cubs. We were all even going crazier at that time, but then they got swept to the Dodgers. And then it turned into, was this season a failure? And a majority of Brewers fans checked the box where it said, yes, this from the 906. Not as important as playing consistent and staying healthy. That's sort of where I'm kind of at with it as well. Tommy and Stallis on the Nicolay Fan Talk and Text line. More important than 100 wins is 3 wins, 4 wins, and 4 wins. The NLDS, the NLCS, and of course the World Series. And I think that's kind of, listen, give credit to Matt Arnold. Give credit to Pat Murphy. We'll talk about Pat Murphy in the Mount Rushmore conversation here shortly. Give credit to them for sort of turning the standard of Brewers baseball around. Like before it was that, let's just get into the postseason, man. Well, let me back up, Charlie. Before that, it was let's just not have a losing season. Right. Let's finish 500.
Let's have a summer of fun and entertainment.
Let's have a summer of fun. Then it turned into, okay, let's finish with a winning record. Okay, let's get into the wild card. Okay, let's win the division. Now that is the expectation, is the division. So shout out to them guys. And obviously there's a lot more guys that should get credit for that. Of course, the players and then the assistant coaching and Rick Sweet in Nashville and the guys in Biloxi. And of course, Appleton deserve a lot of that credit. But we're asking you, how important is a 100-win season for the Milwaukee Brewers? Ram on the north side, dialing up the Nicolay Fan Talk and Text line 414-677-1250. Now, Ram, you are on Wisconsin Sports Daily. No Sparky. You're stuck with me, Brandon Snide, and Charlie Usen. What do you think, Ram? How important is a 101-win season for you?
Brandon, I'm not stuck with you and Charlie. I love listening to both you guys.
Appreciate you, Ram. Thank you.
I'm not trying to blow no smoke, but it sounds so much energy, so positive. I call baseball Charlie, and Brandon. I'm gonna say Brandon's baseball beat, and you making it where people can understand where the Brewers are at, and I can just turn the radio on and be like, oh wow, okay, now we're at. But I'm gonna say this: you all know this in sports, records mean something. So 100 wins would be nice. I think that'd be the first time in the Brewers' history I can remember them even having that, and that's a century mark. So now the big thing we got to remember too, going back to last year, they went on a tremendous run from June to August, and they just ran out of gas. I mean, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just, they dominated, but they just didn't have nothing for the postseason. So this year, Pat Murphy he's pacing it, rhythm, pace. And we don't have the injuries. Just talk about that. We don't have the injuries. We had Contreras was out. We had Vaughn was out. And we just going with what we had. But this year, it looks like it's a little different. And I'm going to say, with this team, I think he can make the World Series. I want to see them make the World Series and 100 wins. And I'm just keeping it right there on that. I mean, that's where I'm at on it.
Ram, I appreciate your call. You know I'm a Bucks fan, and I know you follow basketball. Bucks number 6 seed. What do you think? Yay or nay this season? Is that crazy talk?
Bucks 6 seed?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say this. They're going to be a play-in team. And the reason I'm going to say this is, right, you know, in the NBA, your backcourt has to score at least 40 to 45 points. If you don't have a backcourt in the NBA, you're in trouble. And then on the front line, yeah. But I'm going to say Bucks 9-10 seed.
Okay, that would be good.
Some of these other teams are
improved. 43 wins. That was the 10th seed last year.
43 wins? Ooh, okay.
They had 32 last year.
40 and 42.
I had to get a question in there for you, Ram, on the basketball side of things. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for partaking in the big question of the day as we talk about the Crew here. How important is a 100-win season for you, for this Milwaukee Brewers team? They are currently 81 in 50, 19 games, 19 wins to go in order to achieve that. A lot of reaction on the Nicolay fan talk and text line. This one from 920. This is JB in the 920. It'd be cool. What would be more cool is if Yelich and the others get going the last week of the season on a 5-game hitting streak. That is JB in the 920. You are going to need Christian Yelich certainly to have a chance in the postseason. Again, I know fans hate to hear this, and I know it's sort of sounding like I'm replaying the broken record, Charlie. If Christian Yelich is healthy, he's going to be in the lineup. I know Brewers fans may not be on the same page as Pat Murphy and the Brewers, but that's just what they're going to do. Doug in Racine dialed up the Nicolay fan talk and text line at 414-677-1250. Doug, you are now on the Wisconsin Sports Daily Show with Charlie Usen and Brandon Snide. How important is 100 wins for you, Doug?
Not important at all. More important is 2 sweeps coming up with the Cubs.
Okay, but, yeah, I would agree, because that would put you in. You would probably clinch the division by then.
That's more important. But Ram and everybody that texted in stole my thunder. But hey, is healthy same as rested? I think the team needs to go into the postseason rested. You know, healthy, yes, but rested also. You know.
No, I completely agree. Those are good points.
Is the 1 seed more important than 100 wins for you then?
Yes. Because that gives them extra, the 1 seed gives them more rest. Mm-hmm. So I believe that. And my Bucks take, I called Sparky last week saying I didn't hear any Bucks stuff, but he went one whole show. And I predicted, but I predicted the 7th seed.
Okay. I mean, that'd be a good season.
I think
I would love to see him. I'd love to see him screw Portland out of that first round pick.
Thanks for the call, Doug, down there in Racine. I had to squeeze in a basketball question for Ram because we know he's the basketball guy. I'm kind of with Doug, and it's not important to me at all, quite frankly. I mean, the Brewers could win. They're at 81, Charlie. They're likely going to win 90 plus. I would be fine. I mean, whatever you finish with. Again, timing in baseball is everything. Yes, talent does sometimes outweigh, momentum. And I understand the Dodgers are loaded and the Cubs have, a really good roster. But if you are playing the best baseball at the right time, that usually leads to postseason success. Now, it looks a little bit different now because the last 2 years with the LA Dodgers, but I will also remind people, Toronto was really good and they got really hot at the right time, Charlie. They were 1 out away. They were 1 out away, maybe 1 pitch out away from beating the Dodgers in 7. And then maybe we're not having this conversation about, it doesn't matter what anybody does because the Dodgers are going to win.
And with the Dodgers, with the Blue Jays, what was so important to both their World Series runs last year were random players stepping up in big moments. And I think the Brewers are loaded with random players that can step up in big moments for their team this season. This feels very much that whoever you have at DH, whether it's Christian Yelich or it's Gary Sanchez feels primed for like a huge playoff. His Jorge Soler playoff run, that type of moment for him. I think you could say the same about one of these rookies in Cooper Pratt, Luis Solara, to have some kind of breakout run, because you've seen that out of all of these teams that have made these types of postseason World Series runs over the past few years. And that's the Dodgers included, who have supersized payrolls. But last season, Miguel Vargas hitting that home run is huge for them. Miguel Rojas, excuse me, hitting that home run was huge for them. And
he was struggling.
And then a random player stepped up. And that's what you need. And the Brewers have a ton of random players that can and will step up.
How about David Freese? Anybody remember David Freese? You know what I mean? Like nobody, most fans are probably like, who the heck is David Freese? And Brewers fans will remember because, he was the guy that got hot.
One of the best calls in all of sports history. I will die on that hill. I love that. Joe Buck, we will see you tomorrow night. It's just so good.
Joe Buck is really good. This from the 608, taking more of your reaction. How important is a 100-win season for the Milwaukee Brewers? This from the 608, 100 wins is the most important thing. If I'm going to watch another postseason failure, might as well do it in even more disappointing fashion.
Now you're already jumping ahead, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. This team can be different.
And every year is a little bit different. KJ in West Allis dialed up the Nicolay fan talking text line. KJ, how important is a 100-win season for you, my friend?
Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Great show as always. Love the energy. It's not as important to me, Brandon, as being healthy and rested going into the playoffs, and being on clicking on all cylinders going in. I think that they have the opportunity this year to do that. They've got the pitching. They've got all the ancillary players that go along with the superstars that they have, with the pitching, and hopefully they can keep it all together. And health is the most important thing for me, and the rest is secondary. In terms of Pat Murphy being on the Mount Rushmore, I think that would be a great achievement. He's certainly going to be a strong candidate for that if he does win that third Manager of the Year, and we'll see what happens.
Appreciate the call, KJ. As always, man, greatly appreciated. I'm with KJ. I'm with Ram. I'm with so many people on the talk and text line. Charlie Harley from the VA. The most important thing is to win the World Series. And yeah, 100 wins can certainly help you get to that point, right? You can get that first round bye. I don't even yes, playing rest is important, right? Getting rest, I should say, is important. I'm not going to question, that aspect of it, but it is baseball. And these guys are almost used to playing every day. And it always gets to that conversation, Charlie, is like, when is too much rest just too much, right? Like, and we saw that a little bit last year. Like, the Brewers had the first round bye. The Cubs did not. Now in game 1, the Brewers came out and smoked. Who was on the mound? Was it Shota or it was Shota? And they smoked him and took game 1. But then we saw the Brewers kind of cool down a little bit, really over that entire series. And really, I mean, game 5 they won 3-1 was your final, and then we know what happened against the LA Dodgers. So for me, I'm with the majority of you guys. I would prefer this Milwaukee Brewers team just as playing their best baseball at the right time, and most importantly, and I forgot who it is. Maybe it was a call. I think it might have been Doug in Racine on rested versus healthy. And I think that is another conversation that the Brewers have sort of been kind of answering all year long, Charlie. Like, we've seen them sort of have these quiet, Jacob Mizorowski's dealing with some soreness. Kyle Harrison's going on the IL.
Jake Bauers has a thumb injury from last season.
Jake Bauers
him now.
Yeah, Bryce Terrain, and the knee. Like, maybe the knee was a little bit more worse. Maybe it wasn't. Sal Frelick slow playing him off of the IL. So it seems like the Brewers might.
Abner Uribe right now feels like another one of those.
Was so interesting because he warmed up in, was it LA? And then all of a sudden they're like, no, he's going on the IL. You're like, okay,
sure
that's
about
interesting.
That? All right.
We'll continue, Charlie. I'm going to call an audible if you don't mind, because we have so much reaction here on the Nicolay fan talking text line. How important is 100 wins for you for this Milwaukee Brewers team in 2026? And another question for you. It's a very loaded hour here as we talk about the crew, brought to you by Bryant and Stratton. If the Brewers get to 100 wins and Pat Murphy wins his third Manager of the Year award, is he on the Mount Rushmore for the Milwaukee Brewers? We'll get into that. We'll hear from you. Your thoughts, your reaction at 414-677-1250. Coming up next, you are listening to the Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. You know, it isn't all betting at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. There's a big food item filled with a bunch of new items like all-day brunch with steak and eggs, a steak and bagel sandwich, pancakes, and more. Wisconsin-style appetizers that feature a lot of cheese. And, of course, it's got all things like chicken wings and tenders, build-your-own burger, desserts highlighted by the MVP Turtle Sundae. Tons of cold beverages to go with your all-star meal. You must be 21 to enter the casino. Bet above the rest. Welcome back into the Wisconsin Sports Daily. Charlie Usen, Brandon Snide here with you on a Tuesday afternoon, asking the hardest hitting question Brewers fans have ever faced, and may about 15 years ago never thought they would face. How important is a 100-win season for you? And if they do achieve 100 wins, let's see, even if they don't achieve 100 wins, if manager Pat Murphy wins Manager of the Year for the third time in a row, Charlie, if you could check Potawatomi to see those odds for me. Sorry to put you on the spot. I'm curious what those odds. I don't know who else. Like I'm guessing Craig Counsell is in that conversation as well. Like I know Brewers fans will hate to hear that. I'm assuming.
And they got kind of a good storyline for it too. Like they had that down point in the season where it felt like he kind of lost the locker room a little bit.
A lot of injuries.
And then regained the ship. And
yeah.
they've still been able to stay competitive.
So if they do win 100 wins, and let's just say, maybe take that out of the equation. Let's just say Pat Murphy does win Manager of the Year for the third time in a row, would you put him on your Brewers Mount Rushmore? So we'll take both of your texts. How important, and your calls, of course, how important is 100 wins this season for the regular season for the Milwaukee Brewers? And if you got reaction to if manager Pat Murphy wins his third Manager of the Year award in a row, is he on the Mount Rushmore for the Milwaukee Brewers? This from the 414. This is the dumbest question. If Murphy isn't on your Mount Rushmore already, maybe you need to stop talking about the Milwaukee Brewers on the radio.
Not just like managers, just in general. Like Milwaukee Brewers, if he wins 3 straight Manager of the Years, you're saying for 2 straight Manager years, he deserves to be over some of the other legends in players, front office members, all these
Hank
other
Aaron,
things.
Robin Young,
Bob Uecker announcers.
Bob Uecker.
Like, I don't think he's above all those guys right now. I think if he wins a third Manager of the Year and then maybe wins a World Series, like I think I could see the argument for 3 in a row. But you win the World Series, he has to be up there.
This from the 262. We're going to get to the YouTube dugout chat too, because I know we have a lot of reaction on there. We don't want to leave our YouTubers out of the conversation. This from the 262. Only if he wins a World Series title, then you can put him on the Mount Rushmore. I think that's probably going to be where most Brewers fans feel, because again, when you look at the Mount Rushmore for the Milwaukee Brewers, and the texter from the 414 who's saying it's a dumb question, I mean, who is on your Mount Rushmore? And this isn't just Brewers manager. Of course, if you just do the manager, yes, Pat Murphy is there. There's no question. But we're not doing just managers. We're doing Mount Rushmore of Milwaukee Brewers. You have MVPs. You have Cy Youngs in that conversation. You obviously have the legendary Bob Uecker. Maybe Bob gets his own statue, Charlie. But like, it is tougher than I think a lot of people think. A lot of reaction in the YouTube dugout chat. Of course, we're live. Thanks to Growth Law for sponsoring the show. You can watch it and stream on Instagram Live, X, and YouTube at WI Sports Radio. If you're injured, Growth gets it. Let's go into the YouTube dugout chat. Charlie, what we got?
Before I go there, right now, doesn't look like Potawatomi does Manager of the Year odds. So I just went to another website here. Walt Weiss of the Braves is currently leading at plus 200 odds. Torey Lovullo of the Diamondbacks plus 350. And then Pat Murphy third plus 375 there for the Brewers. Right above Craig Counsell at plus 650. So it's a pretty big gap from those top 3 to Craig Counsell.
What has Arizona done that?
Survive.
I mean, essentially
dealt with Ketel Marte. Like, is that what they're giving it for him? They've had so many injuries so far this season. I think they're still fighting for that playoff spot. I think if they make the playoffs, he has a case potentially, but I don't think that's better than Pat Murphy at this point.
Those are crazy odds, because the Brewers were,
I would say Ali Marmol probably, in my mind, even if they don't make the playoffs, they played better than I ever thought the Cardinals would. This
they
season.
held on that rope and they're still kind of hanging on a little bit, I suppose. But you're right. Like
Tony Vitello is just suffering out there in San Francisco. Like, just give him a pity award, maybe throw him up there, like over Torey.
I am sort of shocked by those odds. I'm not going to lie, because a lot of people at the beginning of the year had the Brewers picked to finish. At best, I saw second, and at time Fangraphs, I still have it bookmarked on my Twitter account, because I will troll them at the end of the season. They picked the Pirates to finish in front of the Brewers. So the preseason projections were not favoring. It's not like the Brewers walked in to 2026 and were heavy favorites in the NL Central. That was the Chicago Cubs. Now the division is not over yet. And I know a 5.5 game lead, you still feel pretty good about it, but you still have 7 with the Chicago Cubs, including 4 at Wrigley Field. And I think they play 7 times, Charlie, in what, 10 days, 11 days? It's something like that. Yeah. There's a red series in between there. So you're going to find out who wins the NL Central probably in the next couple of weeks. So let's go over to the YouTube dugout chat. We got a lot of reaction on how important 100 wins are for Brewers fans. And if manager Pat Murphy wins manager of the year for the National League for the 3rd year in a row, would you put him on the Mount Rushmore of the Milwaukee Brewers? Let's get to the reaction, Charlie. What we got?
Our guy Paul over here at WI Sports Radio. If you want to comment just like him, it doesn't matter if we hit and win 100+ games. I just want to go to the World Series and win it for once. I've been a fan since 1970. Go Brewers. Brew City Chaser says championship over 100 wins. And then Brett Roll wants to point out, I believe Joe Buck's David Freese call was copied after Game 6 of the 91 series with Kirby Puckett's walk-off. Brett, it might be, but I'm 24 years old, so I don't remember that.
Kirby Puckett
was mine.
Is that 92?
He said 91.
91. So. Okay, it was close. I mean, I was a year, so you and I were both not tuned in to watching the game. Ziggy over on the Nicolay fan talk and text line says the 100-win season, 3 times manager of the year are all great accomplishments that would be cool to see, but none of it matters if you don't win your last game of the season. How many wins do I want? How many it takes to have home field throughout the postseason? You would have to obviously get the number 1 seed. Right now, I mean, the Dodgers are starting, of course, as we near September, starting to get a little bit healthier and are winning ball games. I believe they're on a bit of a winning streak now after the Brewers took 3 out of 4 in LA. You're going to have to go through the Dodgers. You're going to have to get through the Cubs. You're likely going to have to get through the Braves, who we just saw. And Charlie, like, don't sleep on Philly and San Diego, man. Like, the Brewers just saw San Diego a couple of weeks ago. That was a 3-game series sweep out there in California. And the Padres are looking really good. And obviously the Phillies are surging as well. Like, the NL is going to be a dogfight this year for like whoever. I think we can comfortably say, and I know the Rays are having a good year, whoever comes out of the NL, if we don't beat each other up too much, probably going to win the World Series. It seems. I
feel like they're going to beat each other up too much.
They might.
Like, I think the Dodgers don't feel nearly as strong as they have over the past few years.
They feel tired, right?
And they do. They feel old. Like, a lot of their players are starting to show a little bit of age, I think, for the first time in a long time. Obviously, things change in the playoffs. Mookie Betts has throughout his career been a phenomenal playoff performer. Same with Freddie Freeman. So both those guys, despite not having their best career years, especially Mookie Betts, who's had a pretty bad season in terms of his career, I think they both can turn it on eventually. It also feels like this Brewers team feels more confident last year. It doesn't feel like the same kind of roller coaster ride that we are used to seeing with this Brewers team since they started being competitive 15 years ago. It feels like a team that is just ready to go out there. They feel like they have that experience, that ability to dominate, because we've seen it so far this season. And to be that top team in the league, last year felt like it was up and down, that top team in the league title didn't always fit this Milwaukee Brewers team. This year, it feels like it fits. And the fact that the way people talk about this Brewers team outside of the city of Milwaukee says that 100%.
This from the 262. It's not about getting 100 wins. It's about how they get there this year by winning series instead of relying on longer winning streaks. I think that bodes well for the playoffs. I think I would mostly agree with that. This from the 414 says cake equals winning 100 wins. Frosting on the cake is division winner. The candle on the cake is World Series champions. This one right here from Nick the Mailman. Why does Murph have to win a World Series? Were the other World Series winners on this Mount Rushmore? That's a fantastic question. Obviously, Robin Yount did not win a World Series. Paul Molitor did not. Bob Uecker, he'll tell you he wasn't very good at playing the game of baseball. He did not.
But he deserves a spot. I still think he's on.
Bob Uecker's. Yeah. I think he's in his own Mount Rushmore. If you had one, like you have Bob and then you have 4 others on there, because I think he is 100% on that Mount Rushmore for the Milwaukee Brewers. And the answer is no, that they aren't. But like, again, like that's why it's such an intriguing conversation, because on one hand, everybody says it's all about, winning a World Series and having that success. On the other hand, it's like, man, all you can really do is give yourself a shot. And so far, Pat Murphy has done just that. This from the 917, being that they already have over 80 wins, 81 to be exact. If they don't get to 100 wins, that means they limped into the postseason. So they have 31 left. If my math is correct, they're 81 and 50. So they have 31 games left. That means if they don't get to 100 wins, they're likely at around 500 ball, roughly, maybe a little bit less. So
is that limping? Like, I guess 500 ball in my mind isn't limping. I think going below 500 is limping for sure. And because you're obviously almost guaranteed a playoff spot, you're not guaranteed it yet, almost guaranteed a playoff spot. I think that kind of says to this Brewers team, it doesn't really matter if we're 500, like that's good enough to get through here. That would just be if they want or don't care about the number 1 seed, which I think they probably do at this point. Like we've talked about, I think that might be more important than the 100 wins.
And their schedule isn't awful. I think they're through the harder part of their second
still
half.
Not easy. Like the Mets have been playing better since the All-Star break. They're not obviously the same team that we've seen in past years. You have the Cubs 7 times. Like that's all a lot.
You have the Reds a handful of times.
And the Reds always feel like they give the Brewers fits for some reason, even if they suck. Like it just feels like it's not going to be easy, even though it's not the hardest.
Baltimore in there. And the last 2 series of the season will be interesting because Philly likely fighting for a wild card spot. I think they're kind of out of the race right now for the division. I don't know what they're.
I think
6
they're
games.
I think they might be closer than that.
Is
3.5 right now.
Oh wow,
So
their surge has been insane lately. So the Phillies will obviously be fighting either for a division spot or for a wild card spot. That's the second to last series for the Milwaukee Brewers, and then they wrap things up with the St. Louis Cardinals at American Family Field. A lot of games on the road for the Brewers too in September. So that's obviously something to sort of kind of pay attention to. But we're asking you, how important is 100 wins for this Milwaukee Brewers team? Is it something you want them to accomplish? If it's not really something you care about, what do you care about? I know obviously the end goal is the World Series. From the 920, 16 and 15 to get to 97, same as last year. If they go 16 and 15 over these last, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, that would probably mean, Charlie, they won the division, right? I think 97 wins is probably going to lock you in.
The Cubs would have to go on an insane run.
Let's not take it away from the Chicago Cubs. That's kind of what they've done all season long. They either go on 10-game win streaks
or the best run
or they go on 10-game losing streaks and lose in the most dramatic way. So, but it is a Cubs team. Like it begs to ask the question. And I saw on the YouTube dugout chat, Charlie, as a fellow Cubs fan, have you conceded the division to the Milwaukee Brewers? Now, let me preface with Rami is putting the jinx on the Brewers, and he's like, yeah, it's over. And he's been sort of saying it's over. Now, it got to within 3 games.
Right.
And I saw a lot of chatter with Cubs fans, and rightfully so, because the Brewers were struggling in San Diego. The Cubs were surging. It felt like the Cubs were trying to lose games, and they just couldn't. Like they were just
Pete Crow Armstrong couldn't.
Insane.
I think it's more so what it was.
Probably your MVP, likely, right?
Likely MVP.
Unless Shohei comes back to the mound and goes nuts. Like, we'll see. That's a 2-man's race right now. But if you, as a Cubs fan, from a Chicago point of view, Charlie, is it the Brewers division right now? Do you believe?
I'm not going to do the jinx like Rami. Like, that's not my thing. I do think like the Brewers have taken the division though. Like, I think this is pretty simple that this is the best team, not only in the NL Central, but in the league. It's pretty obvious. And I think this Brewers squad, as much as the Cubs winning the division would be cool, it kind of feels like the 100 wins for this Cubs team. I think you just need to go into the playoffs healthy. I think you just need to go in and make sure that you have the best possible squad. You made a bunch of moves at the trade deadline to bolster that starting rotation, make sure those guys are healthy going into the playoffs, and then just see what you can do. I don't think they need the week off. I don't think they need all of that. I don't think they need to win the division. That's a Cubs team who just has goals of making a run in the playoffs, no matter where they're seated in that playoff run. And because of that, I think they've conceded that Central division because it just doesn't matter that much to them. And the Brewers, every time the Cubs get close, pull away a little bit every other series after that.
Cubs fans are super annoyed with the Milwaukee Brewers. And it's respect to the Brewers and what they've been able to do to be able to frustrate one of the biggest franchises in the sport. But for me, it's play your best ball at the best, time, whether that's 100 wins, whether it's 95 wins, whatever it is, as long as they can get it done in October. I think that's the point most Brewers fans are at right now. Lots yet to come on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Of course, at 4:00, we'll talk about the green and gold, see how you guys are feeling about college players going back from the NFL back into college. We'll get into that conversation later on. But coming up next, Charlie Sounds of the Day here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
All right, welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Daily. I'm Charlie Houston. That's Brandon Snide on the other side of the glass. It is now time for Charlie's Sounds of the Day. I got a bunch of stuff here for you, Brandon. I'm not sure if we'll have enough time for all of it, but the first thing I wanted to start off with is a head on over to the Edge with Micah Parsons and Quincy Avery, and they were discussing Jordan Love's player rankings, the NFL Top 100 that come out where all the rosters break down. Jordan Love was at number 72 on this list. This is what Micah Parsons and Quincy Avery have to say about that.
I think Jordan is going to be a top 5 quarterback this year, and I think he's going to show the world how great he really can be.
You said top 5. I'm going top 2. Second in the league in EPA, only behind Drake May. He's the best deep ball thrower that the NFL has right now. He's super accurate underneath. Plays at a high. Every time he steps on the field in a situation where y'all need to win games, he plays at a very, very high level.
Give me off some guys that are higher ranked than Jordan Love.
I'm going to start with Trevor Lawrence. He's 62.
I think Jordan Love has just as many wins as Trevor Lawrence if everyone stays healthy. Like when we go through our top 100 as players, right? Fans, they be like, oh, well, so-and-so was a all-pro or so-and-pro wasn't all-pro. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when I'm playing you on the field, like, dude, I'm like, damn, like we're about to face Bijan Robinson this week. Like,
right. I got to put my hard hat on.
Let's buckle up and go 12 rounds. Like,
give you another quarterback above Jordan. Bo Nix.
See, no. I'm pretty sure Bo Nix had more interceptions, and they probably were tied around the same passing touchdowns, maybe.
He's just a better player. Bo Nix, very good player. But when we watch the game, I would much rather play Bo Nix than Jordan Love.
That last line sells it for me. I agree. Me and Aaron got into another spirited conversation last Friday, I think.
Sounds like you and a lot of people get into
Maybe it's me.
Conversations.
Maybe it's me, Charlie. Sometimes you just got to look in the mirror and you're like, okay, it's probably me. It was a good, healthy conversation. I said Jordan Love is an MVP candidate this year. I firmly believe that. And I know Micah Parsons is obviously a friend of Jordan's and his teammate, and he's going to speak highly of him. But when you look at Jordan Love, if he finishes the year healthy and doesn't go down with that concussion, and he plays against Baltimore and plays against Minnesota, finishes that game against the Chicago Bears in the wild card round, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like, he was the best. That was the best postseason performance, by the way, by a quarterback. I do believe Jordan Love is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and I would not be surprised if he's an MVP candidate. He was 3rd in the odds, according to our friends at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, before the concussion last year. I firmly believe he is one of the best.
Well, in the NFL, I keep saying this, is just in a weird place. You're getting a real transition of the quarterback position, of the offensive kind of ideals right now in the league. And because of that, you have a really strong opportunity if you're a young quarterback to take that jump and be an MVP early on in your career. You saw Drake May take that kind of jump last season, and Matthew Stafford, part of that old guard that was those top quarterbacks, kind of snuck it and stole it. But this year, I don't know if he's going to be healthy a whole year. They already drafted his replacement. Is he going to get some run if Matthew Stafford does get injured at some point? These are a lot of questions. This is a perfect opportunity for a Jordan Love, for some of these other young quarterbacks to take that jump. And Jordan Love has shown that he can each season.
He got Tucker Kraft back too, so he's
going to help.
It's going to help, yeah.
And you're getting kind of forced into a new system by your front office, the way they've done their contracts, all of that. Like, you just have to be better. Next, we're going to head on over to the Little League World Series, where Jacob Mizorowski was hanging out with a bunch of Little Leaguers yesterday on a bus, and they were asking him a lot of questions and some hard-hitting ones, too.
Why didn't you play in the All-Star game?
Why didn't I?
Yeah.
I was recovering from a forearm thing, so.
How hard did you throw when you were our age?
Ooh, I probably was throwing like 75.
Would you ever switch teams? If like somebody offered you more money, would you switch the teams?
I mean, like, I'm going to stick with the Brewers for as long as they, give me the opportunity. But, if time comes and, I get traded or something happens, like, it's not the end of the world, and you got to figure out a way to win a baseball game. So it's part of the job.
Man, hire those kids immediately.
Right.
Get them into. They can
They
take
were
my
not
job.
afraid, man. They were not afraid.
Would you take more money and leave the Milwaukee Brewers? Fantastic question. And a good answer by Jacob Mizorowski. Probably threw him off a little bit. Didn't really know how to answer that. But
when he in the video just seemed like smirk a little bit, because he was like, how do I answer this question without getting flamed by my entire fan base?
There was another kid who said he asked Jacob Mizorowski for pitching advice, and Jacob Mizorowski's answer was, because he asked Chris Sale as well, middle and pray.
Just throw it hard, yeah. And Chris Sale was like, yeah, you can do that if you throw 105 miles per hour, you jerk. You can't just tell everybody to do that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work for everybody else. That's hilarious. Any more? Do we got time for another one?
I don't think we got time.
No more. We got one here from the 715. Is the show on YouTube? Thank you in advance. And yes, you can watch Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Growth Law video stream on Instagram Live, X, and YouTube at WI Sports Radio. If you're injured, Growth gets it. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss anything. Hit the notification bell so you always get notified when any show on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network goes live. We still have one more hour. Charlie, we are still 2 hours in. Sparky hasn't texted us. We're not fired. We're keeping this thing on its tracks. We're doing well. We do have some more fun topics planned for you guys. We'll get into the green and gold update and the biggest conversation, college players going to the NFL, then going back to college. Where do you stand on it? We'll break all of it down. Coming up next on Wisconsin Sports Daily here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. And of course, we are powered by our friends over at the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
See what I like, how it gives me such a
Welcome in. Hour 3 of Wisconsin Sports Daily. Brandon Snide, Charlie Usen here with you on a Tuesday afternoon as we wrap things up. 1 hour remaining on the program. And Charlie, we talked a little bit about the Packers. We haven't really talked about what they're doing at practice. We've talked so much more about what they're going to be wearing against the Bears this season with the NFC North rivalry jerseys being unveiled. But it is a big week, Charlie, for the Green Bay Packers at training camp. And I know it's only preseason and nobody cares about preseason and the things don't matter. And the Arizona Cardinals come into town for a joint practice tomorrow at Ray Nitschke Field. Mike LaFleur in charge of the Cardinals there. He's taking on his brother, obviously, Matt LaFleur of the Green Bay Packers. I would anticipate this would be the first time fans, if you're there at practice, of course, no video, of course, because they will snatch your phone or at least want you to stop recording. They might not snatch your phone. The first time we're probably going to see an extended look of Tucker Kraft lining up against another team and not so much against the Green Bay Packers. So I'd be curious to see how that looks. Marshawn Lloyd, obviously, another joint practice for him. And can he remain healthy? He was a part of it.
Are you nervous about Tucker Kraft before you dive into, like, are you at all like worried that this is something that he's maybe too early on, or that he's going to get injured again? Like, are you nervous with him moving forward?
No, because I think he's sort of a freak. I do. Like, I think Christian Watson could have returned.
This is the second kind of big injury of his career. I know it's Peck versus knee. That's two different things, but obviously,
no, I think he's fine.
All right.
I think he's going to be good. I think ACL injuries, as we go with technology, Charlie, are going to be like, we're going to see guys come back sooner and sooner. And it used to be career ending, and now not so much. I think we were on the show September of last year, and we were talking about Christian Watson returning. Remember, he hadn't returned yet. And John said at training camp over the summer, this was last year, he thought Christian Watson could have returned in that beginning of the season. So I think Tucker Kraft, and again, the Packers slow play these things.
Right.
They're very meticulous on how they get guys back. I don't think they're going to rush Tucker Kraft back if they thought he wasn't ready. And certainly he wants to be ready. I thought you were going to get into the conversation of, are we worried Tucker Kraft might hold out if he doesn't have a contract?
That dude loves playing football.
But he already said, essentially, he's going to end up playing.
That dude just loves playing ball. He's not going to hold out.
Yeah, exactly. He's sort of a different breed, a rare breed these days. The conversation, though, the Packers joint practice with the Arizona Cardinals. What are the things you want to see from this Green Bay Packers team when they welcome in the Arizona Cardinals? Maybe it's Trey Smack. Can he continue a little bit of his momentum going in? It is only joint practice, but you don't want to see Trey Smack go 3 for 8, right? You want to see the continued success for Trey Smack. He had a 60-yard field goal at practice yesterday at Ray Nitschke Field, which, by the way,
are you sold?
Yes.
Like, you're already bought in 100%.
Yeah. And
like,
that's probably
the greatest kicker of all time. Like,
I texted John. I will literally pull up my text message. I said, John, and I can remember it off the top of my head. I said, John, did the Packers draft the greatest kicker of all time? God. I mean, Charlie, for us Packer
one
fans,
season, please. Like, that's it.
I mean, one regular season game. I know you're right.
Like one season.
No, I know. Let's get to the regular season. I get it, but it's weird because his spring and early summer, where he didn't really have a long snapper, and then Orzik got injured.
Freaking out, man.
Everybody was freaking out, and then you get into the postseason, the preseason games, and in Pittsburgh, Wayne Leary was on 9 to noon, and he said, this is before the game. He said it's not an easy place to kick. Like, I would watch Trey Smack, and this was the first preseason game, so obviously all eyes were going to be on him. But he said, like, watch how he kicks in that stadium because it's because of the breeze that comes off of the river there by the stadium. It's not an easy place to kick. And then he also talked about Denver, obviously, with the altitude, you have it's an advantage to the kicker with the thinner air, but you wanted to see him at least put the ball through the uprights. And man, for the first couple of preseason games, I know it's really early, and I don't want to get too in front of my skis when it comes to Trey Smack, but it's hard not to at least get a little bit excited to see hopefully a positive development for the kicker position, because again, it cost them games last year. They lost a game against Cleveland because of the kicker. They lost a game to the Panthers because of a kicker. The Bears, it wasn't a kicker, but they should have gotten the onside kick. That was a special teams mishap. Obviously, the wild card round, if McManus makes one of those, then it's over, right? The Bears would probably run out of time in their comeback. So it is a huge development. So we're asking you guys out there, what are you paying attention to when the Cardinals come into town? The Packers did make an announcement. They moved practice. Normally starts at 10:30. They moved it back an hour to 11:30. I'm assuming allowing the Cardinals to kind of get acclimated a little bit. They're coming in from, what is Arizona, an hour difference?
I think so.
It's an hour difference. So, a little bit later of a start for the fans going at joint practice. Is it the offensive line for you? Because that's certainly a conversation and a concern most Packer fans have right now. Maybe you want to see Jordan Morgan be more, I shouldn't say more consistent, because I think he has been consistent, but you want to see him.
Tackle, man. I don't know.
He's been. You do you like Jordan Morgan?
I like him. I don't like him anywhere else. I like him at left tackle.
And that's what he was drafted for.
Where they should have just put him in the first place.
And when Goody said at the end of last season, it was this year, but it was the end of their season in January. He was like, a Jordan Morgan essentially won the left tackle position. We just wanted him to be versatile around the line. You're like, dude, Rasheed Walker was terrible.
Why? Why are we wasting time? This is so stupid.
The NFL told you what they felt about Rasheed Walker.
Right.
They told you about it. Maybe you want to know what the defensive line looks like against another offensive line, right? It's not the same offensive line they've been going up against all summer long. Are you looking for LVN? Barron Sorrell. Barron Sorrell was like the story of the first 2 weeks of training camp. Had the pick 6 on Jordan Love. We haven't really heard his name. Now, in their defense, that we really haven't seen them in the preseason game either. They didn't play a ton out there in Denver. I'm anticipating we're not going to see them on Friday either. We'll see how the joint practice goes.
Matt LaFleur said if they get in trouble, that they're going to have to play during the rolling or whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Or if you're a Packer fan, are you watching to see what the cornerback situation looks like? Now, Benjamin St-Juste out with a hamstring injury. I mentioned the defensive line. Warren Brinson strained his calf in warmups in Denver. So Matt LaFleur saying, quote, a couple of weeks on that. So now you got guys like Jonathan Ford, Anthony Campbell, who continues to flash every single practice, make plays. So or maybe you're watching the defensive line with no Warren Brinson. Maybe it's a secondary. Keyshawn Nixon, I'm assuming he's going to be CB1. Brandon Cisse going to be CB2. I guess you could flip-flop them in whatever order, but it sounds like with the Benjamin St-Juste injury, you're going to see more of Keyshawn Nixon. So what are you paying attention to in these joint practices? What do you want to see in these joint practices? It sounds like, and Charlie made note of it, if all goes well, you probably won't see a majority of these starters on Friday night's preseason finale. You will probably still see Trey Smack in the special teams.
Kraft you'll probably see for maybe a series or two, right?
On Friday?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Like even one series?
No.
Just to see what
if the starters aren't playing, no. They're not going to roll Tucker Kraft out there with the backup left tackle.
Do you think they would do that? Would you just put the whole starters out there for one series just for Tucker Kraft?
If it were me, Charlie, yes.
Okay.
I'm a big proponent in playing in the preseason. Mm-hmm. I told this to John, and he kind of agreed, sort of, in the John way, in the Kuhn way. And we'll take your calls, your reactions to this. CB is in downtown Milwaukee. We'll come to you here shortly, CB. I said you can set a tone in the preseason. It does. Yes, the record doesn't matter. The numbers don't matter. I get that. Mm-hmm. But how you approach these games and the intent that you play with, and if you're lollygagging in the preseason, you're going to tell me that doesn't translate to the regular season? I don't buy it. Teams that play in the preseason. Now, there have been teams that go 4-0, and then the Lions go 0-16. Right. I understand that. But what I'm saying is this Packers team this year can't afford a slow start, Charlie. You don't have Micah Parsons. Like, that's not a secret. I'm not breaking any news. You don't know how healthy Zach Bakubueli is at right tackle. We don't know yet. We anticipate he's fine. We don't really know yet what Tucker Kraft looks like. We might get our first look at Tucker Kraft on actual team drills with the Cardinals tomorrow with 11-on-11. So we'll see what Tucker Kraft.
We haven't seen Josh Jacobs at all.
Haven't really seen a ton of Josh Jacobs. That's a good point. Can Marshawn Lloyd stay healthy? That is always going to be the conversation around Marshawn Lloyd until he doesn't stay healthy. And quite frankly, it may never go away.
I also just haven't been enamored with him so far through the preseason. He's been fine, I guess.
Well, their line has been.
I get it,
dude. It's
I wanted
been
to see one from him. And I know he had the receiving touchdown. That was fun and all, but I just want to see him just break a big run. And I think, okay, that's what I've been waiting for.
I think that's the difference, though, is what he can do in the receiving game. Because Josh Jacobs is not bad. It's not his strong suit, right?
He got better with the Packers for sure.
Correct. So he can definitely do it. Like that touchdown reception in Denver, he mossed the dude in the corner of the end zone.
Awesome.
He can do it. I'm not saying Josh Jacobs cannot do it. Marshawn Lloyd is just different. I mean, a linebacker in the middle of the field, Charlie, you watched the game on Friday night. Good luck. You're not a Texas route with Marshawn Lloyd.
Linebackers are different though. Sonny Styles, I've watched some of the film from him, man. Yeah. He looks like a great coverage guy. That's going to be the type of players you're going to start seeing.
Before we get to the reaction on the Nicolay Fan Talking text line, and of course, you can be a part of the show and the things you're watching for. Joint practice tomorrow at Green Bay. Are you going? Maybe you want to go up and make the trip to Green Bay. Maybe you're already up in Green Bay and you're tuning in on WNFL. Or what are the things you're paying attention to with this Green Bay Packers team? And what are the things you want to see from this Packers team in the joint practice? And maybe it's just a fight. Maybe it's a scuffle. Charlie, you played Division III. Have you ever partaken in, is partaken a word?
I maybe partook.
It came out of my mouth and I was like, I don't know if that's a word, but hey, we're in the final hour, we're in the home stretch. But
Tim Allen was talking about his own dictionary yesterday, so we can just throw that.
Yeah, we'll throw it in the Tim dictionary. Have you were you a part of any joint practices in your collegiate career?
Yes, we had a couple joint practices. It was mostly in high school that we did the joint practices too. So like,
I didn't know they did that in high school.
Yeah, we did the joint practices, the scrimmages, all of that. But occasionally we did the joint practices, especially. So my freshman year of college was the tail end of COVID, and we were still going through all the protocols of stuff with that. And we did a couple joint practices with other teams because we couldn't play games because the team that we scheduled with to play the game, half their team was out with COVID. So then they couldn't play. They couldn't play for like the next 3 weeks. So then we would just schedule with teams that also got their games canceled. We both got cleared and stuff, and we would have joint practices, scrimmages, stuff like that. So we've done that before for sure. And typically, I think in moments like this, it plays out kind of how some of these NFL ones do, where you get a little bit testy. You have guys fighting for spots. I played for Elmhurst University. We were not very good. So there's a lot of young players that thought that they could sneak their way into the rotation if they make a name for themselves in these joint practices and these scrimmages. They'd start fights. They'd be a little too aggressive sometimes in moments that they didn't have to be. So yeah, you definitely have these types of moments, and they do mirror a lot of what you hear at the NFL level. Obviously not to the same extent because it's D3, D2, high school. It's all different. It's not as intense, but it's still a lot like the same.
So we saw, who was it? Yeah, you correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie. It was the Saints and some other, was it the Cowboys that got fined?
Yes.
Was it $500K each because of the fights that broke out and so like it is obviously one of those things that coaches and front office and obviously ed policy and team owners are leery of. This one is a little bit different though, because this is brother versus brother. So I'm curious what the vibe, what the energy is going to be like between these two teams. Like it's going to be like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know what to expect. It's cool. I think for the LaFleur family, and Matt talked about it yesterday, his mom and his dad will be in attendance. They'll be he mentioned it. They'll be looking like, Christmas decorations because they'll be in the red and the green. So I think that's going to be cool. And I don't know if brothers have ever gone up against each other in joint practices. We've seen obviously games and Super Bowls with the Harbaugh Bowl a handful of years ago. It was at 2012. So we've seen it before happen, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the vibe, what the energy is like. We're asking you guys the things you're watching for tomorrow as the Packers will welcome in the Arizona Cardinals to a joint practice at Ray Nitschke Field before the preseason finale on Friday night. Cutdown day is Sunday, so I cannot believe we are already at the end of summer. So what are you watching for? What do you want to see? CB in downtown Milwaukee dialed up the Nicolay Fan Talking text line at 414-677-1250. CB is now on Wisconsin Sports Daily. How's it going, CB? How we doing?
Hey, how's it going, my friend? How's it going? 3 things. I want to see them run block better because they really haven't been run blocking at all. I think that's a weakness that they do got to get better at. But that ain't gonna matter who you have back there. If they ain't getting at least 4 to 5 yards per carry, it's gonna be a long day for them. 2, the backup position. To see those guys battle it out. See who's gonna jump who. And then the third one, Michael J. Sternberg, is he pretty much going to be on the practice squad, or did he win a spot yet?
Man, that's a fantastic question, CB. And he's been a fun story, right? Out of Florida. It was so unfortunate to see him go down with that concussion in Denver because he was likely going to get extended playtime out there in Denver. And he's been a guy all season long. John had talked about him on 90 Noon, and John goes to every practice. So I always reference to what he says. I don't always agree with him, but yeah, I do reference to what he says in regards to the Green Bay Packers and what they're doing at practice. And he had mentioned, and CB brings up J. Michael Sternberg. That has been a name John has brought up consistently this summer. You shrug your shoulders like you don't care, Charlie?
as long as Bo Melton's on the field for the Green Bay Packers, he has a roster spot with the Green Bay Packers, and he's going to get that last spot. Like, that's all that is. Sky Moore gets a spot because he's been good enough as a returner so far.
Well, you got to keep Sky Moore, but how many receivers do you think they would keep?
6. Like, that's
you don't think
6?
7? Because Matt LaFleur said it's possible.
It's possible, but
then you have Isaiah Nair, who's also
stuff is possible all the time. He always is trying to be mysterious.
Well, we'll see,
do
because
the same thing every time.
The Warren Brinson injury is interesting because that could sort of, I don't want to say benefit because it sounds terrible for an injured player.
Do you replace an already subpar defensive line, and when you lose a defensive lineman or with a wide receiver, like that just doesn't make sense.
Well, because they're deeper in the defensive line. That has been a story that has developed now over the course of the summer, right? You have Javon Hargrave, you have Devontae Wyatt.
I'm just not buying
Chris
it
McClellan was your 3rd round pick. Anthony Campbell has made plays every single time.
I'm just not buying it until I want to see it again, regular season play out so far. Like,
well,
last year,
but
it
you
was
can only
disappointing for sure.
No, and Devontae Wyatt going down, I mean, that was the icing on the cake. I mean, obviously at that point you lost Baka Bueli and Micah Parsons, and Tucker Kraft was also out. So it was just, add another name to the list essentially. And that was pretty much it. But that defensive line has turned in, Matt LaFleur talked about it, has turned into one of their deepest positional groups this summer that nobody really envisioned. Right. Because Jonathan Ford was a guy you're familiar with, was, in Green Bay, then was in Chicago, then was, is now back in Green Bay. He's had some really good plays. Anthony Campbell has literally flashed every single time he's on the field. Like, every single time Anthony Campbell's on the field, you cannot deny it at this point. Like, yeah, it's only preseason, but these are still guys, going out and trying and giving it all their all for in order to make a roster. Like, every single time he's out on the field, I think he had 3 pressures in Denver. So, like, he's another name to keep an eye on. Nazir Stackhouse might be the odd man out in that conversation, but we'll see, because the Warren Brinson injury, or maybe they just don't keep as many as they normally would, and maybe they put Brinson on the IR and start with 7 wide receivers. Obviously,
just risky. I think that's
it can be. Yeah, it certainly can be.
Yes, has a lot of promise, is deep now, but when you have to be worried when a group like that hasn't performed up to that level for a season, for a couple seasons now, as much as you'd like it to. I think you have to have the worst case scenario type of group out there, which is having as many names possible out there for that group to make sure that you find the right guy that's going to perform, the right guys that's going to perform, especially if injuries start to take place again.
You know what just hit me?
What's that?
And this is sort of a shame on me.
What's that?
And people can laugh and point at me and chuckle. I just realized, it just dawned on me. We're talking about the defense. Jonathan Gannon is going up against his old team.
Yeah, he is. And you know who got activated before this week? Josh Sweat got activated by the Cardinals.
Interesting.
Maybe he's going to go, show out a little bit, help out,
or
do a little tryout for the team that he could potentially.
You say tryout, I say house shopping. I mean,
you think it's like that?
I find it interesting. All I'm going to say, and I know you guys I know Easton Butler's on the show all the time. I'm just going off of what his tweet says. And he has sources, he has people. It says it's no coincidence. I don't know if there's anything to that. Would it shock me, though? This is the time of year, Charlie. In 3 days, we are on the 1-year anniversary of trading for Micah Parsons. I'm not saying Josh Sweat is in that conversation.
It's just going to be a big commitment. It's going to be another big commitment. And I think it's, a valid commitment. But then you're also, I think Lucas Van Ness goes in whatever trades you're giving up on him so that he can go play in Arizona, see what he can do. Probably another player. And then
you think it's LVN?
Another pick. Like, that's a lot.
I think it would be somebody else before LVN.
Who do you think it would be?
If I had to guess, as if it's going to be a pass rusher, I would say they would probably take a younger guy with more contract control, like a Colin Oliver, maybe a Baron Sorrell.
I just think like a Lucas Van Ness, in my eyes. Yes, I get what you're saying.
Because they're not going to win. They're not playing to win now.
No, but you can also just give him like a little bit of a test run, see if he's going to be a guy, because he's still relatively young. He's a former first-round pick. Come out here, play 1 season in Arizona, see if you can change that storyline that's followed you. Yeah. And if you do, we'll pay you. If you don't, see you later. Have fun. Find another team.
That's a fair point. Yeah, I am curious. Like, it is a coincidence. And Josh Sweat's name has been tied to the Green Bay Packers. He has gone on record saying
since Gannon joined the Packers.
Correct. And he said he went to Arizona for Gannon. So that it is interesting. Before we move on to the NCAA and the beef I have with them and the NFL for that matter, Charlie, you talked about potentially, Lucas Van Ness being sort of a prove-it guy. Fantasy football is right around the corner. We'd be remiss if we didn't get to this topic. So let's spend the next few minutes here. When you look at this Green Bay Packers team, and there are a lot of good players. I don't know if there's a lot of great players for fantasy football, and it's sort of the time of year where everybody is starting to have their draft. Do you find any Packer players right now on this roster that you would take in the first round? Is Jordan Love in that conversation? Is Christian Watson? Christian Watson feels such like a hit or miss when it comes to fantasy
And
football.
also, like, I know he's stayed healthy through the second half of the season. He's never stayed healthy in his career before that. He's never been like his stats just overall haven't been that high upside. A lot of people are just betting on him staying healthy this season, that'll increase his numbers. I just don't know if I can make that bet on him.
It's got to be Tucker Kraft, right? Like if you're looking at the offense for the Green Bay Packers, and again, there's still a question mark there.
It is. And a lot of tight ends recently have had that big 1 year boom and then kind of slowly trail off a little bit. It's kind of like the quarterback position where I think you're seeing kind of a change of guard showing up in the league right now. And you have a lot of guys that potentially could take that jump. He made that jump last season for sure, but he's still coming off an injury. I don't like, there might be other guys that in my mind could take another step forward. Guys that haven't been injured. Trey McBride, like last season, I'd take him over Tucker Kraft for a first tight end.
Yeah, well, and especially because you want to see more, he's obviously coming off of a major injury. Which Packers player, Charlie, on offense would be your first selection in a fantasy draft? I'm not saying first round, but if Packer. You take Tucker Kraft out of the equation, because I think we'll all agree it's going to be Tucker Kraft. The first Packer you would take in a fantasy football draft presented the opportunity would be who?
Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love, in my mind, is going to be greatly underrated by a lot of people heading into this season. I firmly believe no matter what Matt LaFleur's games are, whenever he's in press conferences, they're going to throw the ball a lot more this season. That's the way they've set the roster. That's the way they've paid these wide receivers. I think the offensive line is set more for a quicker pass game than a road grading run game. You don't have the same kind of big guys, and if you do, they haven't really played to that level. So I think you move forward with Jordan Morgan at left tackle and say play to his strengths, which I think really falls within the pass game, especially at his true natural position. And all these other wide receivers, give him that confidence. This is the reason that you paid Christian Watson and Jaden Reed. This is the reason you drafted Matthew Golden in the first round. This is the reason you paid Jordan Love at the end of the day. Let him go shine. And I think he's going to have the best season of his career. And I think with a lot of young quarterbacks, again, starting to try to find themselves a little bit, he's going to shine as one of the top in the league.
He is. Charlie Usen couldn't have said it better myself. I completely agree when it comes to the conversation around Jordan Love, and I said it on Locked on Packers. I said it on 9 to Noon, Charlie. Let Love cook. Put the offense in his hand, and let's see how far he can take us. Speaking of taking us very far, the NFL says if you don't make it, you can go back to college, and the NCAA says, yeah, we can allow that. Where do you stand on players going from the NFL back into college? Are you for it? Are you against it? The Big Ten says not so fast, my friend. We'll break down that conversation coming up next on Wisconsin Sports Daily here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. You know, it isn't all just betting at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. There's a big food item menu filled with a bunch of new items. All-day brunch with steak and eggs, a steak and bagel sandwich, pancakes, and more. Wisconsin-style appetizers that feature a lot of cheese, of course. It's got things like chicken wings and tenders. You can build your own burger. Desserts highlighted by the MVP Turtle Sundae. Sign me up. Tons of cold beverages to go with your all-star meal as well. Must be 21 to enter the casino. Bet above the rest. The Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back into Wisconsin Sports Daily. Brandon Snide here with you. Charlie Usen behind the glass. Couple more segments here remaining, 30 minutes or so on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Talked a little bit about the Milwaukee Brewers. Do they need to win 100 games? Is Pat Murphy manager of the year? The Green Bay Packers releasing some new uniforms. Join practice tomorrow with the Arizona Cardinals. And now, Charlie, the conversation is sort of going to take a different turn before we run out of time. The NCAA allowing players to come back after leaving for the NFL. Daquan Wright, the first one to do so. However, he was waived by the Cleveland Browns. Lane Kiffin had checked with Todd Monken while they were in a preseason game over the weekend, and he wasn't exactly sure why. Then it turns out when Daquan Wright committed to LSU after leaving, or getting waived, I should say, by the Cleveland Browns, he said, yeah, that makes sense now that Lane Kiffin would want to check in with a guy on his roster. Charlie, I am curious where you stand on this, because I am 100% against this for college football. Now, Pete Thamel of ESPN saying the NCAA, the Big Ten ruled against this, so that you are not allowed, according to the Big Ten, to be able to go into the NFL. Once you sign a contract in the NFL, you are obligated to stay in the NFL or find a different avenue back into college football, but you cannot do it through the Big Ten Conference. I think, again, I've been on record saying this, Charlie, and you'll be able to speak to this a little bit better than I can because you played at that level. I think college football has done a lot of good throughout the course of its tenure, but I think they are treading some dangerous waters. I believe it started with the NIL. I don't like how the NIL was sort of brought into college sports, even though and I say brought in, there's really no rules when it comes to the NIL.
It's so dumb.
Same thing with the transfer portal. It's so the dumb. Wild, wild west. Like that, there's no restrictions on that as well. And now, Charlie, Daquan Wright went and signed a contract with Cleveland, got waived by the Browns, and is going back to college football. And I know I know you're passionate about this. You're a former college athlete yourself. Where do you stand on NFL players getting waived, not making it in the NFL, and then going back to college?
It's so stupid. I don't say I guess very controversial things on this network, and this might not even be a controversial thing.
I don't think it is.
Lane Kiffin's a scumbag, dude. He's just so annoying, and he's so frustrating, and he's constantly the guy that you hear attached to all these awful stories that the NCAA just doesn't know what they're doing. The NCAA, on the other side of things, is the worst company in all of sports on the face of the earth, the worst overall league in all of sports. It doesn't matter if it's NCAA football, NCAA basketball, they do not know what the hell they're doing ever. It is so beyond frustrating to be a fan of college sports sometimes, because they truly just let anybody do whatever they want. And this isn't a brand new thing. This is what the NCAA has continued to do their entire time. And then they put these lax shutdowns on programs and schools after they screwed up and let these teams have these types of loopholes. And when they put NIL into college sports, they had absolutely zero plan looking forward into what the future of this would bring. And you had so much time, you had so long to listen to the people fighting for athletes to get paid, which they rightfully deserved, because the NCAA was using their name, image, and likeness in a way that was not fair and was not getting the athletes paid in the way that it should.
Sure.
And they needed to get that implemented. But instead of doing it with a plan, I think they, for some reason, and I think, again, another controversial thing, I think maliciously went into this with zero plan, knowing that this is the reaction that it would bring from a lot of people, and that they could turn around and in about 5 years say, listen, we're just getting rid of NIL because it's just too crazy. We don't know how to handle it. We don't know what we're doing. So that they can say, see, it didn't work. Let's just go back to not paying the athletes, the stars of our game, these kids that are trying and playing as hard as they can, and going out there and not pay them. Like, that's all their goal is at the end of the day. And this is just another example of that, because they're allowing NFL players to take spots from these younger athletes, and it's going to cause more of an issue and more of a reaction from the public.
This from Pete Thamel. The Big Ten ruling banning NFL players has officially passed with faculty representative approve. Here's the specific language of what's not allowed. Underclassmen who declared for NFL draft and did not withdraw. Any football player who signed a contract with a pro sports league, that in this case would be Daquan Wright, because he did sign a contract with the Browns. It wasn't guaranteed, but he did sign a contract. And then Thamel has one more input here. Anyone who was officially on a professional roster, which would also in this fact be Daquan Wright. Now, we got into this discussion on 9 to Noon, and I took the stance that you took. Rami didn't see anything wrong with it. And a lot of people were it's more like 50-50, maybe 60-40 that were against it, that were not against it. But the other part of me, Charlie, and you brought up a lot of good points. Like, is there any pride involved from the players?
Don't you feel like a loser? Like, if I'm going to be completely honest,
I'm not trying to say,
like a loser? Like, that's crazy. Yeah, you're getting paid, whatever. But like, morally, doesn't that hit your ego?
But you already got paid too. Like, right. If you are on the NFL roster, more than likely you are an NIL athlete.
You already got done this. Even before NIL, people were getting paid, man.
Correct.
Come on. Yeah. Let's be serious.
Well, in a lot of states, NIL is entering the high school area
exactly.
as well.
This is crazy. Like, you're just finding ways to make sure this blows up, basically. And this is just another example of that by the NCAA. You're just such a poor organization, like just poorly run, that you're going to let this happen across your league, and you're going to force the other leagues within you, the Big Ten, to make a stand, because that's only strengthening them and the SEC from like their goals and what they want to do, which is eventually leave you as an organization.
And I know there's going to be people out there, because Rami was one of them. We had a handful of Nooners texting into the Nicolay Fan Talk and text line, and we'll take all of your reaction as well. Are you okay with people going from the NFL back into college? We'll get to Tom, who's waiting on the call here on the phone line shortly. People compared to Charlie to like the minor leagues of baseball. I know Rami was one of them, and I sort of sound like I'm picking on him a little bit, but I'm not. But I don't think it's comparable, because you're still a professional
then the NFL
athlete.
should say that this is our minor leagues. They should support the NCAA
Correct.
And take that away from them and say it's our league then.
And they sort of kind of have with the UFL and the CFL, the Canadian Football League as well. So it is certainly one of those topics that is, again, it's very divisive. You're sort of on one side or the other. Let's see what Tom thinks, what side Tom is on. He's calling the Nicolay Fan Talk and text line from Cedarbrook. Tom, you're on the Wisconsin Sports Daily Show. What you got? How do you feel about NFL players going back to college?
You guys are 100% correct. And before I get into my stuff, what I really wanted to say, what Rami doesn't understand is minor league baseball teams are affiliated with the parent club. So it's not even a comparison. But there's only one way you're going to fix this. And I'm going to use the old phrase, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. It's a freaking duck. The only way this is going to change and even out in any way is that when players sign NIL and with teams, they do it under a strict contract like the NFL does. Because then it sort of acts like the old baseball reserve clause. It's like, when you're under contract with me, you're under contract with me until we release you or buy you out or whatever. But until the NCAA realizes, and they're probably too dumb to realize this, that this is a professional league now. That if the rules are way different one and the other, this is always going to happen. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I'll hang up and listen.
Tom, thanks for the call. Appreciate you, as always, tuning in. You guys can all be a part of the show as well. 414-677-1250. I agree with him, Charlie, like completely. We've talked about this before, because the NIL has just been, it needed to have some sort of governor on it, and it hasn't. Adam Schefter, not too long ago, saying former Browns tight end Daquan Wright cleared waivers today and is expected to sign with LSU on Wednesday. He will go from Cleveland to LSU to become a LSU Tiger and become the first player to go from the NFL roster back to college.
Is he really going to make that much of an impact too, from Lane Kiffin's point of view? Like, is this guy who got cut from the NFL roster, like before the season or the preseason's even over? He's not even getting one last chance in the preseason to play for this Browns team that's not a very good team. Him coming to your roster, that's really going to help you that much for him to be a backup tight end potentially, maybe the starter, but not getting the top number of targets. Like, unless this guy's going to be a stud and you're guaranteeing that, which you're not because this guy wasn't a stud and didn't make an NFL roster, then what is the point of this? It just feels so stupid and so staged. It just feels like everything that Lane Kiffin wants is just to keep his name in the media and keep the controversy flowing, because that's what he feeds on. Again, he's a scumbag.
This from the 608. Shaming someone for doing what's right for them is what is pathetic. He took what the NCAA was stupid enough to give him. Don't hate the player, hate the game. If Lane Kiffin offered you 5 to 10 times your salary to work for Louisiana Sports Radio Network, you would take it in a heartbeat. No, I wouldn't, 608.
No.
I love Wisconsin.
And also, I didn't shame the player. I'm shaming the coach.
Correct.
I said Lane Kiffin's the one that
And
should be in trouble
NCAA.
Like, this is stupid. I have not said anything about Daquan Wright. He can do what he wants. That's right. Yeah, it's a bad system. It's all awful. I'm blaming Lane Kiffin for taking advantage of it and not like the Big Ten did and what Dan Lanning was talking about with Oregon, and stepping in and saying, no, this is ridiculous.
This from the 920. I think these few players are an exception, and the court took too long to decide. This should have been final in June. I just don't think, like, if you put your, I agree with the Big Ten, and I know, people are going to come after the Big Ten and say, why the SEC is far superior. But if a player is signing their name on a pro contract, you are forfeiting. If you have eligibility left in the NCAA, like, you just forfeit it then. Like, you are now, quote unquote, a professional athlete. Yeah, it's not a guaranteed contract. And I understand that. And Rami brought up the point in the argument of, this is a guy just chasing his dream. What do you want him to continue to do? Well, there are other ways on still making a pro roster. Number one, sometimes, Charlie, it just doesn't work. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, I'm not made for national radio. I probably never will be on national radio or national TV. Heck, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this job, right? It is my dream to be hosting a show on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I find it to be a privilege and an honor to be able to be here and be doing a show with you. But I also know that it's not always going to work out that way, and things might get in the way, and maybe it's just not meant to be. But to other point, like, how does this look like for other players? If I'm looking at it from a former player's perspective who didn't make it in the NFL, Charlie, and thinking back, like, man, I wish I could have had that opportunity to maybe go back and try to retry in college. Like, now Daquan Wright is setting a precedent going forward. And there are other ways to make a pro roster. You can still try out for other teams. Like I told Rami, there are the practice squad.
Other leagues across the
Canadian
world
Football
now.
League. Yep,
There's
you're
3
right.
in America.
Correct.
There's 1 in Canada. There's ones in Germany. There's
So
all these other places to play.
Do not tell me this is his only chance at getting into the NFL or getting back
A lot of people have
to
dreams.
the NFL.
A lot of people's dreams don't come true. Like, yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel bad for some of these guys. But, like, at the same time, the NCAA has to set a standard that they are just not doing. And it's so frustrating.
It is frustrating. And again, like, I used to love college sports, Charlie, like, loved it. I never missed a Marquette basketball game or a Badgers basketball game or a Badgers football game. And it's not just because the Badgers stink. It's because, how do you keep up with who's who? And the college sports show every weekend is one of those that can help you certainly do that here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. But it's like the NIL, the transfer portal. There's a new quarterback every other year. There's a new point guard every other year. Like, it's so tough. And now you add into the equation, and college sports just cannot get out of their way. We'll turn the page. We'll focus on the things we may have missed coming up in the final segment here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Coming up right after this on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back in to Wisconsin Sports Daily. Brandon Snide here with you. Charlie Usin wrapping things up on a Tuesday afternoon before we hand it off to Aaron Morse, bringing you with the leadoff show. Brewers and Mets game 1 getting set to first pitch about an hour and a half-ish away. Game 1 of that series, and baseball coverage on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi, one price, 5 years, guaranteed. Xfinity. Imagine that. Charlie, we covered. I feel like we did a really good show today. We covered a ton
These
of
are
topics.
usually like tough days. There was
there wasn't a whole
Packers
lot.
sound from today. The Brewers didn't play
The
last
Packers
night.
didn't practice.
Right, like it's
No
just
brewing. I
always-
didn't even think about it.
we killed it. Dude.
I wouldn't have volunteered maybe if Sparky had asked me last night. I'm like, there's nothing to talk about. No, I'm glad I did.
See, now we're happy the NFL dropped these weird, ugly jerseys.
We were talking during the break. I actually, now that I see the Packers, the more I look at it, the more I actually really, really dig it. Also, go to Packers.com. Their merch line is absolutely sick. So we talked about the uniforms. We talked about joint practices coming up. We talked about Pat Murphy. We talked about, did the fans want to see 100 wins for the Brewers in the regular season? We talked about the things you want to see at joint practice. Charlie, I'm not really sure where we go from here. I think we hit everything. Is there anything we may have missed?
Well, we talked about the NFC North jerseys.
We did.
I wanted to talk about the AFC
Let's get into
South
it.
jerseys
Let's
a
do
little
it.
bit. I think they did way worse than the NFC North did, if I'm going to be completely honest. I think the one I like the most, and I talked myself into this one a little bit, I think I like Tennessee's. I like the Titans one. It kind of looks like a guitar. They got like guitar strings on the shoulder and stuff. It's also just kind of bland. It kind of reminds me of the Cubs ones that they did this past year.
Okay.
That were also like guitar music themed. I think theirs were supposed to be blues themed versus country music. I don't like Music City just being in like kind of a basic font above that, or rather they just put Titans or something. But compared to the other three, I think the other three are just like not that great. The Houston's okay. I can see like the Nassau kind of theme to it a little bit.
I like that powder blue. I think powder blue is just a color I kind of
Yeah.
fall into a little bit. That's the early version, Charlie, of Brandon Sportshood, like being a Tar Heels fan.
Okay.
You know, when they were good and the
Wow.
Badgers. Aaron's in agree. He's agreeing with me. He's getting ready for the leadoff show. So I fall into that powder blue, and I kind of like Houston's the best when it comes to the AFC.
The Jaguars are ugly as hell, especially the pants. Like they look like my sister's yoga pants that they all just threw on. It's so bad. And then the Colts, like they're fine. It's all right. The Colts ones is just like there.
The Colts
the
look
most
like
part.
like if Duke.
Yeah,
like
I think the Duke.
these kind
Duke
of
has
lean-
done those.
I was gonna
haven't
say
they?
these kind of look like college themed jerseys more than anything. Like I guess Houston's is a little bit different. We talked about the NFC North with the
Well, somebody
Packers
said
looking like
Houston looks
Baylor.
like SMU.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I mean, again, like you're never going to find people that are all in or all out. I suppose like the Jaguars uniforms sort of remind me of what I don't like about the Lions. Like the helmet
Yeah.
just doesn't flow right. Like it's just
Well,
not
it's like supposed to
there.
be like a throwback, but then it's called like the Bold City jerseys, but like the jersey font and everything is just not bold at all.
Like
It
if
just looks
if
so
you're
bad.
looking at the Jags jersey, if their helmet was black, Charlie,
Uh-huh.
with the gold accent, like kind of like the Vikings a little bit with the purple, like maybe you could talk me into that one. But like when I look at these, I think Houston for the AFC. Who did you say? Is it Texans for you?
I
Or
think,
not Texans,
Titans.
the Titans, I should say. Yeah, those are probably
I
in
like
that
the helmets, too,
I
when
do
I
like
saw
the
those,
helmets. And see what they did cool with their jerseys. Their helmet helps bring out their jerseys,
Mm-hmm.
and their jersey, vice versa, helps pop out their helmet a little bit. The Colts just remind me of Duke. Like I can't, when I look at that, I just think of Duke.
Just feels like a boring jersey for a boring team. Like that's what I get out of that.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I'm more on par with the Packers being the better one in the NFC North, and that is obviously has nothing to do with me, of course, being a Green Bay Packer fan. But the more I look at them, the better the more I just kind of start liking them a little bit more. And their merch over at Packers.com, like I look at this merch, Charlie. But
what
then
do you think about? Are you a Star Wars fan? Did you like the Chewbacca?
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
And there is a large amount of people that still love that stuff, and they will.
Oh, Josh Albert's gonna buy every single.
Oh, I'm sure.
bit of it, man. He might buy the whole Disney.
Go to Packers on Twitter real quick because we have like 30 seconds. They did a close up with Edgerrin Cooper in the jersey. Those numbers, I'm telling you, this is gonna. I think this might be one of their better releases.
Do the numbers feel like too big on any of these jerseys? That's something I keep looking at. And when I first saw them, I was like, oh, those seem like way too big.
Eh.
And now I keep saying, like, oh, it looks normal. But then I'm also still in my mind, like, is that too big?
Yeah, I like them. All right, they'll wrap things up here on the Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. My thanks to you, Charlie. Thanks for keeping this this ship
Thanks for
afloat.
being here.
Appreciate all of you guys tuning in and keeping us entertained with your thoughts and your reactions on the conversation. Leadoff Show with Aaron Morse is next here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by our friends over at the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Born again,